Chapter 47:16. Who do you think you are? Chen was furious and sent Susai flying with a slap. An immortal emperor's slap severely injured Susai on the spot, and the Su family members couldn't move. They saw all this but couldn't stop it. They only knew that the Su family was in trouble, and that Wei Xian had a tough life. Brother Sai. Wei Xian quickly ran over and helped Susai up. Brother Sai, don't worry about me. This person is a lunatic. His cultivation technique is like this. He kills his family, his wife, and his friends, Wei Xian said. This is the heartless Dao. Meeting him is destined to be a disaster for me. I implicated you. Meeting you in this life is my, Wei Xian Dao's good fortune. As he spoke, Wei Xian secretly placed a jade pendant in Su Sai's hand and transmitted his voice. This is the jade pendant that Master left me. It is said that it can save your life in danger. If you encounter danger, crush it. When Chen and I leave, move the Su family away, and find an expert to protect you. Give the cultivation experience that Master gave you to protect the Su family. Xian or I don't want you to lose your lives because of me. That will make me feel uneasy. Wei Xian didn't crush the jade pendant immediately, because he wasn't sure how powerful it was. Chen was now an immortal emperor. If he couldn't deal with him, he would be furious and implicate the Su family. Since that was the case, why not give the jade pendant to Susai? She could leave with Chen and still have some time. After speaking, Wei Xian let go of Susai and walked towards Chen. I'll go with you. When Chen saw Susai's sorry state, his mood suddenly improved. That was good too. There were so many people today, so he wouldn't cause trouble for the Su family. He would bring Wei Xian back first. Susai looked at Wei Xian's back and finally clenched her teeth and crushed the jade pendant. She couldn't wait any longer. She didn't know what miracle the jade pendant would bring. If it couldn't do anything, then she would bring the Su family to seek help from an expert. When the Su family was settled, she would go find Chen. The moment the jade pendant broke, Tanguo felt it. Tanguo whispered to Jiang Zilin, "It's my turn." Jiang Zilin let go of Tanguo's hand. "Okay, I won't go there." He knew that Tanguo wanted to play. "Let's play first. I've already sealed the surroundings. After we're done, we'll capture Chen's soul." Susai looked at the broken jade pendant. There was no miracle, and her heart was filled with endless sorrow. Had his fate with Xian come to an end? Who is summoning me? Tanguo's voice reached everyone's ears. At the same time, a super strong pressure came crashing down. Everyone was careless and was pressed to the ground. Only the immortal emperors present were able to withstand it. The Azure Tharch revealed a shocked expression as he exchanged glances with the Thunder Tharch and the others. Why have I never heard of such an expert before? Neither have I. The Thunder Tharch was shocked. She's too strong. She's probably in the Pre-Saint realm, right? The Thunder Thearch's guess was right. Tanguo was indeed in the Pre-Saint realm. She was just one step away from becoming a saint. This step required the right time, the right place, and the right people. It was very difficult. I didn't expect there to be such an expert in the celestial realm. Look, she's there. The alchemy Tharch stared at the place where Tanguo had landed. It was right in front of Susai. The dragon Tharch came back to his senses and wanted to see how his son was doing. After all, only an immortal emperor could stand with such a strong aura. The others were definitely lying on the ground. Peak. Chapter 47:17. When he saw that Ao Xian and the others were still standing, although it was a little strenuous, they were really standing. He was a little surprised. The Dragon Emperor noticed it, and so did the Azure Emperor and the rest. They looked at the smug faces of Ao Xian and the rest, and felt that something was amiss. However, it was not the right time to ask. They just stared at Tanguo. Tanguo was wearing a white veil bamboo hat. She looked very ordinary, but no one dared to use their divine senses to check her. Who would dare to use their divine senses on such an expert? They would be courting death. Are you the one who summoned me? Tanguo asked the dumbfounded Susai. Her gaze landed on the broken jade pendant in Susai's hand. At this moment, everyone reacted. Their gazes landed on Susai. Wei Xian was also stunned. Seeing Tanguo's white clothes, white veil and bamboo hat, as well as her powerful and vast aura. He was a little confused. Could it be that he had guessed wrongly? Was this her master, and Fairy Tang only looked like her master? Why is this jade pendant in your hands? Tangua asked again. Tell me, how did you get this jade pendant? This is something that I gave to my disciple. Wei Xian reacted and quickly ran in front of Tangua. He bowed to Tangua and said, Wei Xian greets Master. Master, he is disciple's Dao companion. Susai also reacted. She hurriedly prostrated on the ground. Susai greets Master. Please help Xianer. Susai was very excited. This was really a glimmer of hope. She did not expect that a jade pendant could summon Xianer's master. Did this mean that Xianer's crisis was resolved? Lin Chu and the rest's mouths twitched. They looked at each other. They felt that they were not as good as Tangua. When did this fellow take in a disciple? And it was Wei Xian. He seemed to be quite talented. No wonder he had planned this carefully. Perhaps he had expected this. House of Hearts, good disciple, get up and tell me what's wrong. Tangua's tone was light. She sounded very young and familiar. However, Wei Xian and Susai didn't dare to think too much about it. Now that his master was here, Wei Xian seemed to have found his pillar of support. He recounted everything that had happened to him. He didn't leave out anything and didn't add any details. After everyone heard this, they felt that Yuni-Chen was too much. Yuni-Chen looked at Tangua with an unsightly expression. He wasn't afraid. Although the other party was strong, he was still an immortal emperor and wouldn't lose his life. Yuni-Chen, you actually dare to bully this sovereign's disciple. Tangua looked at Yuni-Chen. Yuni-Chen's expression was very indifferent. He was extremely disgusted with Tangua. Everything that happened today was beyond his expectations. I won't give up on Xianer. I regret what I did to her in the past. Now that I've met Xianer again, I will make it up to her. Yuni-Chen felt that as long as he made it up to her, everything would go according to his plan. He was already an immortal emperor and could control his own life. Tangua said coldly, get lost. Xianer has already made her choice. I won't give up. Then I can only kill you. Tangua instantly landed in front of Yuni-Chen. She had wanted to beat him up for a long time. Finally she had the chance. Yuni-Chen didn't expect Tangua to attack him so suddenly. He had no choice but to fight back. When they exchanged blows, he knew that he wasn't a match for Tangua. However, he couldn't take it lying down. No matter what realm he was at, there was always someone restricting him. This made him break down a little. Tangua was basically suppressing Yuni-Chen. Peak. Chapter 47:18. Yuni-Chen was careless and was slapped in the face by Tangua. Wei Xian was delighted to hear that. This scum, what bullshit compensation. Yuni-Chen had never experienced heart-wrenching pain before. Could it be that master isn't Fairy Tang? Wei Xian whispered to Susai. Did we misunderstand? Susai said, maybe they look alike. That's true. As soon as the two finished talking, Tangua's ordinary bamboo hat was blown away by Yuni-Chen's strength. When everyone saw that the bamboo hat was broken, they all looked at Tangua and were stunned. Wasn't this Fairy Tang? When Emperor Qing saw this, he almost couldn't catch his breath. Emperor Qing and the others also widened their eyes, and their eyeballs almost fell out. This can't be right? Emperor Qing asked Han Ro. Ro, is that our daughter? I think so. Han Ro looked at Tangua and answered hesitantly. Yes, she is our daughter. Isn't she a little strong? Ro, are you sure you didn't see wrongly? Han Ro took a few more glances, and her hands were trembling. She said with certainty, yes, she's our daughter. Ro, slap me. I think this is a dream. Slap. Han Ro didn't hold back and slapped Emperor Qing, making his face turn red. Seeing Emperor Qing's red face, Han Ro quickly rubbed it. Brother Qing, does it hurt? Your face is red. It's not a dream. Yes, it's not a dream. Emperor Qing smiled foolishly. No one knew what he was thinking. He looked at Tangua with bright eyes. When Yuni-Chen saw Tangua's true face, he was also stunned. He subconsciously shouted, Xiaogua. Since you recognized me, I won't hide it. It's me. Tangua admitted that she did intend to announce everything today. Besides dealing with Yuni-Chen, she also wanted to do something else. 16K Chinese Yuni-Chen didn't attack again. Why? Eternal hatred. Tangwa intended to announce the feud and the matter regarding the mystic Tharch. She would also announce it. Yunichin was puzzled, and so was everyone else. Yunichin didn't understand what it meant, but he felt danger. Even though his face was swollen, he couldn't care less and planned to run. He felt a sense of desperation from Tangwa. His intuition told him that if he didn't run, he would regret it. Zilin catch him. Tangwa didn't bother with Yunichin anymore. It was enough to create momentum. Jiang Zilin instantly appeared beside Yunichin. He gently grabbed Yunichin and caught him. Furthermore, he sealed Yunichin's cultivation. At this moment, Yunichin was like an ordinary person who could be trampled on. Wei Xian was stunned. Fairy Tang was her master. It seemed like today's matter was under her control. Perhaps you have many doubts. Tangwa took out the soul stone. Do you know who this is? Everyone didn't understand, but they knew that Tangwa was an immortal emperor. They were guessing whether she was the 9th or 10th immortal emperor. Besides these two, they couldn't guess anything else. The person inside is the mystic Tharch. Tangwa threw out an image stone. The immortal world was about to usher in a prosperous era. Before everyone could react to how the mystic Tharch ended up in Tangwa's hands, they were attracted by the image in the image stone. It was the image left behind when the mystic Tharch went to kill Tangwa. Everyone was shocked when they heard the reason why the mystic Tharch wanted to kill Tangwa. In order to chase after someone who might become a sage, the mystic Tharch wanted to kill all the descendants of immortal emperors. His mentality was so vicious that it refreshed their understanding. Peak. Chapter 47:19. When the Azure Supreme Tharch and the others saw the mystic Tharch in the image stone, they couldn't believe that this was the mystic Tharch they knew. In order to obtain the sage's inheritance, he actually wanted to kill all of their descendants to provoke their anger, so that they would go and find the newly ascended immortal emperor. If not for Tangwa's strength, wouldn't the mystic Tharch have succeeded? When the people of the immortal world saw this, they all took out their image stones and started recording. Gosh, they had actually been watching the mystic Tharch's drama. When they saw that the mystic Tharch actually said that he wasn't a descendant of the sage, but a lucky person who had survived the sage's era and accidentally met a severely injured junior of the sages. After killing him, he obtained the token and obtained this identity. Everyone was speechless. This was too scary. At this moment, the Azure Supreme Tharch and the others couldn't wait to pull the mystic Tharch out of the soul stone and beat him up. When they heard that Yunichin was actually a part of the mystic Tharch's soul, they didn't know what to say. The mystic Tharch schemed against the sage's inheritance. He schemed against Wei Xian and Tangwa. If not for Tangwa stopping him, all the descendants of the immortal emperor would have been schemed against by him. The contents of the image stone sent chills down everyone's spine, especially the Azure Supreme Tharch and the others. They never thought that the mystic Tharch, who was crazy about seclusion, was such a person. In front of them, the mystic Tharch had pretended too well. Now they also realized that the mystic Tharch had appeared a few times just to find out how their juniors were doing. If it weren't for Tangwa, there wouldn't be a single junior left in their family. Since that's the case, let's kill this Yunichin too. The Azure Supreme Tharch's expression turned cold. This guy actually schemed against his daughter. If his daughter wasn't strong enough, who could have stopped him? Wei Xian also said, "Master, can I kill him personally?" Unexpectedly, Tangwa shook her head. No. Everyone was confused. If such a vicious person wasn't killed, it would bring disaster to the entire immortal world. Who knew who Yunichin would scheme against in the future? No one was afraid. He was too vicious. If we kill him, we will fall into the cycle of reincarnation. Tangwa's words shocked everyone. What else did this guy do? Tangwa took out a medicine bottle. I have a medicine here called a dream of unrealized millet. It can let you know Yunichin's life and death. After you see it, you will understand what is going on. Tangwa floated into the air. She poured the powder out of the bottle. Those who are willing to know Yunichin's life and death, don't resist the powder falling on your body. These were the many versions that Ziyin had come up with. He knew that she needed them, so he had never stopped researching them. Actually, she hadn't used these for a long time. but Ziyin had given them to her, so she received them. This time, a pipe dream was from Yunichen's perspective, allowing everyone to see Yunichen's experience. If she didn't tell everyone, they probably wouldn't understand why she didn't kill Yunichen. In addition, she also wanted to announce this matter to the public. When everyone heard this, they allowed the powder to float onto their bodies. At that moment, they were immersed in Yunichen's life. It was like watching a lantern on horseback. In less than 4 hours, they finished watching Yunichen's life. They knew that Yunichen was born a good-for-nothing and was bullied by others. After that, Yunichen obtained an opportunity and cultivated the emotion-severing technique. Chapter 47:20. He met Wei Xian and got married to her. He killed Wei Xian just to ascend and become an immortal. After reaching the immortal world, he didn't reject Tanghua. Just like what they knew, he chose to get engaged to her. However, in his dream, Tanghua didn't seem to recognize all this. She did everything for Yunichen, but her heart didn't warm up. From Yunichen's perspective, he felt that this was something he could make use of. Yunichen defeated Lin Chu. Because of this, Lin Chu was left with an inner demon, and he didn't improve for many years. Yunichen went to the desolate sea mystic realm and killed Aoxian. He trapped Lei Yu's soul in the soul stone and framed Lei Yu for Aoxian's death. Yunichen unintentionally saved the injured Shui Yang. Because of this, he won Shui Yang's heart. However, all of this was part of the mystic Thearch's scheme. Shui Yang was injured because of his scheme. Because of this, Shui Yang and Tanghua got into an argument. In the end, she was killed. Ming Xiu saw that something was wrong with Yunichen. He tried to persuade Yunichen to be kind. However, he was secretly killed by the mystic Tharch. The descendants of the immortal Tharch either died or were injured. Yunichen met Wei Xian again. Just like what they knew, he wanted to make it up to Wei Xian. He almost killed Su Sai and was chased away by Wei Xian. After that, Wei Xian was hidden by Tanghua. Yunichen thought that Tanghua was going to harm Wei Xian and went to find Tanghua. Tanghua didn't tell Wei Xian where she was. She was injured by the other party. Then her soul was searched. After that, her cultivation was crippled. Yunichen was severely injured by the Azure Supreme Tharch. He found Wei Xian and told her the truth. Wei Xian still recovered her memories. When Yunichen said that he wanted to make it up to her, Wei Xian killed him without hesitation. Yunichen used a secret technique to start a new life with Wei Xian. Wei Xian noticed this and also used a secret technique to refuse to be with him. Both of their secret techniques could be considered as ancient secret techniques from the time of the sages. When the two of them multiplied, it became an eternal grudge. If there was no solution, not only would the two of them be entangled for eternity, but the rest of them would also be entangled. Everyone's eyes cleared up, and they looked at Yunichen with a complicated expression. This was a cruel and unscrupulous person. Do you think it's appropriate for me to trap Yunichen's soul in a soul stone? In this way, the souls in the soul stone will be immortal and will not affect the fate of the people in this world. Tanghua's voice sounded in everyone's ears and received everyone's agreement. How many lifetimes had they restarted? If they killed Yunichen, they would continue to do so. They could understand why Tanghua was so powerful. The heavenly Tao must have given her a chance to survive, and she grabbed it. Not only did she grasp it, but she also wanted to change the fate of everyone in this world and undo the shackles of fate. For a moment, everyone looked at Tanghua with gratitude. The Lotus Supreme Tharch and the rest had complicated expressions. If they did not undo the shackles, they would never be able to enter the sage realm. The secret techniques of the ancient sages were indeed powerful. This should be a forbidden secret technique. After the great tribulation of heaven and earth, it accidentally leaked out. When Tanghua took out the soul stone, Yunichen naturally knew about it and wanted to escape. However, he was like a little chick in Jiang Zilin's hands and could not escape at all. His eyes were filled with despair and viciousness. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but Jiang Zilin quickly smacked his body and pulled out his soul. Before Yunichen could say anything, he was stuffed into the soul stone. Tanghua smiled and said, "I've prepared a gift for you. I still don't know who is more powerful, you or the mystic Tharch. Everyone was scared to death just now. They were afraid that Yunichen would curse again if something went wrong. Yunichen did think so. He had obtained the ancient curse from the mystic realm. There were more than one. Unfortunately, before he could do so, he was stopped by Jiang Zilin. Peak. Chapter 47:21. Their souls were trapped in the soul stone, unable to escape. Tangwa kept the soul stone, which meant that everything was over. The onlookers would never forget what happened today. They witnessed something that changed the fate of the immortal world. The Lotus Emperor rushed in front of Tangwa. Gua, what's your cultivation level? Quasi-sage. Tangwa said. I'm just one step away from becoming a sage. The Lotus Emperor nodded, his face full of joy. He was no longer shocked, because it was only natural for one to have such a cultivation level after obtaining the vitality of the heavenly Tao. The Lightning Emperor and the others were shocked, but they quickly regained their senses and looked at Lei Yu and the others. The Lightning Emperor rushed over and lifted Lei Yu up. Tell me honestly what happened. You damn child. The Pill Emperor knocked Lin Chu. Are you in the Immortal Emperor realm? Lin Chu nodded honestly. Yes, father, don't beat me. No matter how much you beat me, I can't catch up to them. Your son is already an Immortal Emperor. You have to save some face. Lin Chu, you're too cowardly. You're already an Immortal Emperor, so you have to fight with me. Aosian said arrogantly. Old dragon, come and fight. The Dragon Emperor was not afraid. Brat, come then. Find an empty space. Don't think that you can challenge me just because you're in the Immortal Emperor realm. I'll beat you until you can't transform. With that, the Dragon Emperor and Aosian turned into two huge dragons and flew towards the sky. It seemed like they were really going to fight. Who's the 9th Immortal Emperor? The Lotus Emperor asked Tangwa. Tangwa replied, It's me. The Lotus Emperor laughed. Then who's the 10th? Tangwa pointed at the others. The 6 of them together. Everyone gasped. She was too strong. Was she secretly leveling up? The Lotus Emperor was still confused. How did you escape from our array? Zilin. Tangwa pulled Jiang Zilin over and took off his mask. Zilin helped me. When the Lotus Emperor saw Jiang Zilin's face, the corner of his mouth twitched. He was indeed more outstanding than Yunichen. No wonder his daughter always wanted him to wear a mask. Ahem. Zilin. Jiang Zilin was very polite. Father-in-law. The Lotus Emperor. He hadn't agreed yet. Zilin actually, he had seen it in the image stone just now. He wanted to ask again. If other people asked about this, he wouldn't answer. 2. To the Tao. It meant that Jiang Zilin was a saint who survived the Great Tribulation. Zilin, since you're a saint, why don't you preach in the celestial world? The Lotus Emperor asked. There's no saint in the celestial world now. Jiang Zilin shook his head. Forget about the preaching. I have other missions. Next month, the Desolate Sea will open the Saint Mystic Realm. Everyone in the celestial world can go. There are countless tests inside. There's no limit to the number of times you can pass. What you can get depends on your luck. As for the rules inside, he had already set them. He didn't care about conflicts. Wherever there were people, there would be conflicts. The saints here were just cultivators. They weren't the kind of saints who didn't fight. Peak. Chapter 47:22. Jiang Zilin went back with the Azure Tharch, but the Lightning Tharch and the others stayed behind. Even the Dragon Tharch was called back. When they came back, Aosian's eye was still swollen. In a short time, he was beaten up by his father to the point that his dragon scales almost fell off. Look, stupid child. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. Don't think that you can beat me just because you've reached the Immortal Emperor realm. Unless you're as strong as Tangwa, the Piltharch said to Lin Chu. Lin Chu nodded obediently. I know, father. He had never thought of fighting with his father. In this aspect, he was more tactful. Looking at Aosian and Lei Yu's miserable state, he knew that they had been beaten up very badly. The Piltharch patted Lin Chu's head. Learn well, Dragon Tharch and Lightning Tharch. Which one of them hasn't been through hundreds of battles? Even if your cultivation level is higher than theirs, you won't be their match if you really go all out. The few of you are too inexperienced. Lin Chu didn't understand. Then why do you say that you're not Tanggua's match? She's different. The Pildarch frowned. She has memories of many lifetimes, and grasped the vitality of the heavenly Tao. Her previous moves were flawless. The few of us together might not be her match. I have to say that a genius is a genius. The Pildarch sighed. An ordinary kid like you should work harder. I know, father. I will work hard and not embarrass you. But they're too strong. I can't catch up. It's okay. It's much harder for us to cultivate pills. The servant who was following by the side heard the Pilthiarch's words, and his mouth twitched. The son of the Pildarch, Lin Chu, was an ordinary kid? If this were to spread, the people of the immortal world would probably cry. They also wanted to be ordinary, okay? In the Azure Thearch's palace, Jiang Zilin told everyone about the saint's secret realm. The Azure Tharch and the others asked about the situation inside. Jiang Zilin smiled. Everyone can go in. There are indeed many saints' inheritances inside. Whether or not you can get them is not up to me. I'm only responsible for opening the secret realm. Everyone expressed their understanding and didn't doubt him at all. They guessed that this was the mission that allowed Jiang Zilin to survive. However, he did not know that the mystic realm was personally set up by Jiang Zilin. The inheritances of the Sword Sage, Pill Sage, Dragon Sage, Profound Sage, Lightning Sage, Water Sage, Ice Sage, and Buddha Sage are all inside. Their successors had a very high chance of obtaining the inheritance of becoming a saint. Even if you can't obtain it, you can still obtain their other inheritances. The descendants of the Profound Sages have all died out, so the secret realm will select a new successor. Let's leave the Profound Palace for the new successor to inherit. The Azure Tharch and the others nodded. They were not interested in that. In less than half a day, the entire immortal world knew what had happened today. Among them, the one that everyone was most concerned about was the saint's secret territory. It was a secret territory, where everyone could search for opportunities. Before the next month, there were already people rushing to that place to wait. However, before the mystic realm opened, a piece of news came from Qingzhou. Tanggua and Jiang Zilin were going to hold a Tao Companion ceremony. The people waiting there had no choice but to run over to participate in the Tao Companion ceremony. During the ceremony, Wei Xian's family stood at the side and looked at Tanggua and Jiang Zilin. They felt that the two of them were really a match made in heaven. Now everyone knew that Wei Xian was Tanggua's disciple. As for the Su family, they naturally rose in status and became a first-class family. After that incident, Wei Xian and Su Sai's relationship became even better, and Wei Ming directly recognized Su Sai as his father. They all planned to forget about Yunichen and throw away that unpleasant memory. Peak. Chapter 47-23. After experiencing life and death that day, they cherished the life they had now. A month later, the sage mystic realm in the desolate sea opened. Initially, the Lotus Tharch and the others were worried that they wouldn't be able to take it if there were too many people. Later, they realized that there was a world of its own inside, so they didn't worry much. After everyone entered the mystic realm, Jiang Zilin and Tanggua also entered. The two of them hid in the core of the mystic realm and could control the whereabouts of everyone inside. Seeing the Lotus Tharch and the others, Jiang Zilin said, "Father-in-law and the others are more experienced. Lin Chu and the others still lack experience. It won't be so easy to get the inheritance. My father and the others have been in the immortal emperor realm for many years. They are just a little bit away. Lin Chu and the others can't compare." Jiang Zilin wouldn't interfere with any disputes in the mystic realm. This mystic realm had merged with the hidden world in the lower realm, so it was very big. There were rules set by those old men. Hence, he was telling the truth. If these people wanted to get something, they could only rely on themselves. He wouldn't help them. However, if the Lotus Tharch and his wife passed any tests, he would give them the things in his personal storage. Tanggua couldn't help but laugh. Seeing how happy her father was, she didn't stop him. In Jiang Zilin's words, it was just a small thing to make the two of them happy. Tanggua would also give some of her personal storage to Lin Chu and the others, as well as Wei Xian and the others, to make them happy too. On one side were her friends, and on the other side were her disciples. The first sage inheritance was obtained by the Buddha's arch. The others didn't know. Only Jiang Zilin and Tanghua, who were in control of the situation, knew. After the Buddha's arch obtained it, he went into seclusion. After about 10 years, someone else obtained it. The Lotus Arch obtained the Sword Sage's sage inheritance 50 years after the mystic realm opened. After that, almost every 10 or 50 years, someone would obtain the sage inheritance. It was the Lotus Arch and the others. Lin Chu and the others went through many tests and understood their shortcomings. Instead, they settled down to cultivate and didn't advance rashly. 100 years later, Tanghua became a sage. That day, immortal music filled the entire celestial realm. The immortal qi of heaven and earth surged crazily. Wherever they walked, they seemed to be covered by layers of immortal qi. With such a huge commotion, everyone came out. On that day, the entire immortal world was filled with heavenly music. Withered trees came back to life, and flowers bloomed everywhere. Not only that, but some injured people also felt their injuries slowly recovering. Everyone in the immortal world was in a state of enlightenment. No matter what they were doing, they all stopped what they were doing and closed their eyes to enter a state of enlightenment. The bustling immortal realm fell silent. Meanwhile, Tanghua had already woken up. At this moment, she was already in the sage realm. She opened her eyes and found Jiang Zilin looking at her sadly. What happened? So the time of a saint is also very short. Is this the price of changing everything? Jiang Zilin held her hand, his eyes moist. The moment Tanghua became a saint, he felt that they didn't have much time left. To be precise, she didn't have much time left. Didn't they say that saints are immortal and indestructible? Jiang Zilin was half crying and half laughing. So it was just a lie. Tanghua didn't know how to comfort her. This day would come sooner or later. She didn't expect Jiang Zilin to see through it so quickly. She could only say, "See you in the next life." You still understand me? Jiang Zilin pulled her into his arms. I was really afraid that you'd say to live well. Tanghua kissed Jiang Zilin's face and pinched it. You're so handsome. It's a pity that you don't have the life to enjoy it. Didn't you say in the next life? Jiang Zilin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The old men tricked me. They said I'd be single, but they didn't say I'd lose you. Isn't it torture to lose you after getting you? In the next life, you'll look better. If you don't, I'll automatically ignore you. Jiang Zilin said. Then I don't dare to look ugly. After a while, I'll preach the Tao. 20 years later, I'll leave here and tell them that I'm going to find other sacred grounds. Jiang Zilin agreed. Then I'll preach the Tao too. Jiang Zilin and Tanghua preached the Tao for 20 years, benefiting countless people in the immortal world. It was only when the Lotus Emperor and the others were breaking through to the sage realm that they bid farewell to everyone. The people in the immortal world didn't know that this was an eternal farewell. Many years later, when the Lotus Emperor and the others became saints, they gathered in the pavilion again. They seemed very quiet. Brother Qing, don't be too sad. The Lotus Emperor sighed. How can I not be sad that my daughter is gone? This is probably the price I had to pay. So becoming a saint isn't about being immortal and indestructible, the Elixir Emperor said. Everyone fell silent again. If they hadn't become saints, they really would have thought that Tanghua and Jiang Zilin were going to find other sacred grounds. The Peak. Chapter 47-24. Margaret, I'm used to it. You don't have to comfort me. I can accept it. Zian, poor Margaret. Margaret doesn't need to be comforted. Margaret is very strong. Qishao, you'll laugh to death sooner or later. Shengguan Yungu, I sympathize with you. Harold, +1 Alan. +2, Mo Yuntian. Yunga, have you left that place? Shengguan Yungu, Master, I'm trying. Margaret, you mean you haven't left yet? You still have the time to sympathize with me. You'd better think of a way to get out as soon as possible. You're just a trapped insect. What right do you have to sympathize with me? Shengguan Yungu, thank you for your concern, Senior Margaret. Ziyun, sister is in a mortal world this time. There shouldn't be any danger. We can wait for the next world. The reason why Ziyun said this was because Tanghua had already arrived in the new world. She had just greeted them and left the group not long ago. Qishao, yes. Mo Yuntian. Let's not talk about how Margaret has been looking forward to meeting the girl. How could you and I not want to meet the girl again? Piao Miao. Will there be such a day? Inhuan, it's been a long time. Our cultivation is getting higher and higher. But we can still remember the time when we met the school bell. It's like yesterday. Emmanuel. I should be glad that time in the interstellar has slowed down. Otherwise, you might see my profile picture turn gray one day. Billy. Every time on the school bell's death anniversary, Qingru will stay in her room for a long time. Things are too complicated. I don't know if I should tell her the truth. Whether I tell her or not, she won't be able to see me. Emmanuel. Don't you have anything to say? Billy. I'm afraid of provoking Qingru. Emmanuel. I think you're afraid that Qingru will beat you. Billy, life is hard. I'm thinking about it. The school bell's death anniversary is the most silent day for Qingru. I'm wondering if I should tell her. Emmanuel, maybe we can consider it. After all, we're not cultivators. We can't live forever. Even though the flow of time was very slow, no matter how slow it was, one would still die. Billy, give me some more time. The discussion between the two made everyone in the group very silent. They all knew that as long as they weren't cultivators and didn't have an endless lifespan, their avatars in the group would sooner or later disappear. Speaking of which, they had already sent away 3 people. Until now, the 3 gray names were still on the member list. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't want to look at them, because it would make them sad. Margaret, what are you talking about all of a sudden? Do you want to die in the group? The school bell didn't come again. I'm very sad now. Hurry up and comfort me. The sorrowful Marguerite was in dire need of comfort. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but laugh, and they started to comfort Margaret and give her small gifts. At this moment, Tang Guo was sitting on a small stool in front of the house and eating melon seeds that her mother had specially cooked for her. This time, she had transmigrated to a rather special era. The most tense and serious period had passed. In a year's time, the college entrance examination would be resumed, and freedom would be restored. Self-employed people would slowly appear, and the entire society would welcome development. Although she was in the most special era, she was living a good life. She had already graduated from high school. Because her family doted on her and didn't want her to work, they let her stay at home and play. Her hands were white and tender, just like a rich young lady. Peak. Chapter 47:25. Her mother was afraid that she would be bored at home, so she specially fried melon seeds for her to pass the time. Her family was relatively simple. Her father passed away in an accident a few years ago, and the family received a sum of compensation, which did not make their life worse. Her mother, Chen Yufan, was a capable person. She was hardworking, strong, and able to endure hardships. After her father passed away, she did the work of 2 people and raised the 3 of them well. She didn't let her suffer any hardships. The reason why the whole family doted on her so much was that in addition to her brother, Tang Yu, who was 5 years older than her, she also had a twin brother, Tang Shi. When she was born, she was malnourished and did not develop well. She almost died. On the contrary, her twin brother, Tang Shi, was very strong, just like his name. Even when the family was at its most difficult, the family was reluctant to let her do any heavy work. It could be said that she grew up in the palm of their hands. She was 17 years old this year, and her brother, Tang Yu, was 22 years old this year. Her brother was tall, handsome, and very hardworking. He loved his sister very much. Now it was not difficult for him to work in the field. How could he let a delicate little girl like her do it? Her twin brother, Tang Shi, was the same age as her, but much taller than her. His body was not as strong as Tang Yu's. Instead, he was more delicate and slender. He did not look like someone who could work, but in fact his work speed was not worse than Tang Yu's. Another point was that Tang Shi's name sounded very honest, but in fact he was not honest at all. In addition to working in the field, Tang Shi often came up with some strange ideas. He went to the mountains to catch birds and rabbits for Tang Guo to improve her life. Tang Shi knew since he was young that his sister almost died. Every time he thought of this, he was a man, but his eyes would turn red. If anyone dared to say anything bad about his sister, he would definitely give that person a beating. Because of her two brothers, her mother was not so tired in the past few years. She did not have to work in the field too much. She would come back to cook after doing a little. Her life was not bad. Especially in the last 2 years, the limelight was getting more and more relaxed. Many people saw hope, and those with a bit of knowledge might understand that the bitter days were coming to an end. Originally, such a happy family should have a good life in the future. However, Tangwa came. They were destined to have a tragedy in the future. Suddenly, a troublemaker appeared in the harmonious family. As mentioned earlier, Tangwa's eldest brother, Tangyu, was already 22 years old this year, and was still single. He wasn't in a hurry, but Chen Yufan was. Her son was already so old. No matter what, it was time for him to find a wife. Chen Yufan asked a matchmaker to introduce them to her. The Tang family was considered a good family. Their few houses were much bigger than those in the same village. Currently, all the members of the family Tang group had their own rooms, and there was even one empty room. Chen Yufan was capable, and could help take care of the village in the future. Brother Tangyu had a lot of strength. He was hardworking and willing to do the work of several people. Marrying him would definitely lead a good life. As soon as the news that Tangyu was looking for a wife spread out, many people were tempted. But Tangyu was also a little bit of a beauty lover. He hoped that his future wife would be good-looking. Even if she was not as good as his sister, at least half as good. At worst, he would marry her and take good care of her. She should be able to be more tender. Chen Yufan knew Tangyu's thoughts, and did not stop him. The Peak. Chapter 47-26. As long as she was a good person, not too lazy and willing to live, she could still accept her son if he liked her. In the end, the matchmaker introduced them to the Yao family's daughter, Yao Wenwen. Yao Wenwen was really fair and clean, which suited Tangyu's aesthetic. He liked her at first sight. Except for her rough hands, everything else was suitable. Her voice was pleasant, her eyes were bright, and her face was beautiful, but a little tanned. Tangyu felt that it would be good to marry her and raise her. He didn't need Yao Wenwen to work in the fields. She could help Chen Yufan with some chores at home. Yao Wenwen also liked the family Tang. She got along well with Tangyu. When they were dating, Tangyu gave her a lot of good things. If there was anything good, he would send it to her house. After 2 months, the two of them liked each other and got married. On the day of the wedding, it was naturally a grand occasion. At first, Yao Wenwen was very satisfied with her current life. She didn't need to be chased by her parents to work in the fields every day like in her mother's house. She only needed to help Chen Yufan, and wasn't too busy. Tangyu was very good to her, and everyone in the village envied her. If there was anything good, the family wouldn't hide it, and would leave a portion for her. Unlike in her mother's house, if there was anything good at home, it would be left for her younger brother. There was no share for her at all. It was just that people were greedy. If they got something good, they would want something better. A few months after marrying into the family Tang, Yao Wenwen found out one thing. There was one person in the family who was treated much better than her. This person was the original owner. She didn't need to work, and could still enjoy the best treatment. Chen Yufan doted on Tangwa very much, and didn't even let her hit her. Yao Wenwen felt unbalanced in her heart. Why did Tangwa get the same treatment as her, without doing anything? In addition, the sisters around her were sowing discord. She felt more and more that Tangwa should work. If her sister-in-law didn't show her power, her sister-in-law wouldn't know how powerful she was. But as soon as she proposed to let Tangwa work, Chen Yufan objected. Then Tang Shi objected. Tang Shi even scolded her. Yao Wenwen was very angry. She didn't expect that this time, Tang Yu didn't stand on her side. Instead, he told her not to care about this matter. They should pamper their younger sister. She even said that she would get all the benefits from the family, and that she shouldn't cause trouble for Chen Yufan. In order to balance out this matter, Tang Yu would leave his share to Yao Wenwen. He hoped she would understand and make her feel better. However, Yao Wenwen was unwilling to give up. She felt that Tang Guo was an eyesore if she didn't work. Occasionally, she would say sourly that if the original owner didn't work, what would happen when she got married in the future? This time, Chen Yufan listened and began to teach the original owner how to cook. But when the original owner burned her hands, the whole family objected and didn't want the original owner to do such dangerous work. What Yao Wenwen didn't expect was that Tang Shi proposed to find a son-in-law for the original owner in the future. That way, the original owner wouldn't be bullied. This decision was agreed by the whole family. Yao Wenwen was mad. She was so jealous that she almost split open. Later, the village received news that the college entrance examination was about to be reinstated. The whole family supported the original owner's college entrance examination. They hoped that she could get into a good school so that she could be assigned a job in the future. She could live in the city and eat the government's meals. Yao Wenwen was mad with jealousy. She also said that she wanted to take the college entrance examination. Although the Tang family was a little dissatisfied with her, they didn't stop her from taking the exam. Yao Wenwen wasn't good at studying. She knew very well that she might not be able to pass the exam. Chapter 47:27. Looking at the original owner studying hard, she suddenly panicked. On the day of the college entrance examination, Yao Wenwen deliberately fell into the river when she passed by. She even pulled the original owner down with her. The river was slippery, so the two of them fell down together. The first college entrance examination was ruined just like that. But the original owner didn't give up, and neither did the family Tang. Yao Wenwen couldn't study, and she didn't want the original owner to take the exam. In the 3 times that the original owner took the college entrance examination, she was either given chin beans for dinner or chin beans for breakfast on the day of the college entrance examination. After preparing for so many times, the original owner suddenly felt that she might not be suitable for the college entrance examination. She was also sensible. If she continued like this, she would be a burden to her family. So, she became a teacher with her excellent results. Yao Wenwen saw that the original owner was still well off, and was doted on by the whole family, so she still hated her. But she didn't dare to show it. Everyone in the family Tang was on the side of Tang Gua. So, she thought of introducing someone to the original owner. She wanted to introduce someone who looked good on the surface, but was actually not very good. After looking around, she found a man who had been married 3 times. It was said that he liked to beat his wife, and was very fickle. He was from the city, and had a good family background, but he liked to beat his wife. She deliberately introduced him to the original owner first, wanting to matchmake the 2 of them, and arrange for them to meet. But the original owner didn't have a good impression of this person, and didn't plan to date him. Yao Wenwen didn't want to. She would find all kinds of excuses to say that this person was good. If she missed it, she wouldn't have a chance. The original owner felt that something was wrong, so she told Chen Yufan about it. When Yao Wenwen was questioned by Chen Yufan, Yao Wenwen said confidently that she found out that this person had a good family background. Tang Guo was pampered by them. Of course, she wanted to find someone rich and good to her. That way, she wouldn't have a hard life. Yao Wenwen's words made the family Tang agree, so they asked a matchmaker to find out. The matchmaker took the man's money, so of course she said something good. When the family Tang heard this, they felt that this person was good. When they met later, this man also behaved very well. At that time, the distance was too far, and it was not so easy to check the marriage history. Who would have thought that the matchmaker would help to hide the marriage history? Yao Wenwen stood by the side, quietly watching the family Tang people persuade the original owner, saying that this person was not bad, and that she should try him out. But no matter what, the host still didn't like this person. Tang Shi saw through the original owner's thoughts, and had a heart-to-heart chat with her. The original owner said her intuition, saying that she felt that the person was a bit fake, and that he would occasionally make a move. Of course, Tang Shi valued his sister's opinion very much, so he planned to go into the city to inquire. As soon as she entered the city, not only did she discover the person's true identity, but she also discovered the relationship between Yao Wenwen and the matchmaker. It was also when Yao Wenwen felt that the matter was settled, and went to invite the matchmaker for dinner. That man was also there. Tang Shi spent some money to hire someone to eavesdrop. After learning the truth, Tang Shi did not go up and make a scene. Instead, he immediately returned home, and informed everyone at home. The Tang family members who knew the truth were furious, especially Chen Yufan. She basically did not scold Yao Wenwen, her daughter-in-law. Sometimes, when Yao Wenwen was lazy, she would turn a blind eye to it. Yao Wenwen's way of framing her precious daughter finally angered her. When Yao Wenwen came back and Chen Yufan saw her, she rushed up to Yao Wenwen and beat her up. As she beat her up, she scolded her for being a vicious woman. How could Yao Wenwen be willing to be beaten up? She turned around and fought back. Peak. Chapter 47:28. As a result, Chen Yufan fell from the yard and rolled down with Yao Wenwen. Everything happened too fast. The two brothers didn't expect Chen Yufan to rush up and hit them. They also didn't expect her to be so fierce that they both fell down. At that time, they heard Chen Yufan scream. Tang Yu and his brother hurriedly sent her to the hospital. Yao Wenwen was slightly injured, but Chen Yufan's condition was very serious. She fell and became paralyzed. Tang Yu planned to divorce her. Their family was very happy. Ever since Yao Wenwen married him, except for the first 3 months, she caused all kinds of trouble. His patience had reached its limit. Yao Wenwen also shed all pretense of cordiality at this time. She felt that she wouldn't have a good life with Tang Yu. In this family, her status was the lowest, so she agreed to the divorce. After getting the divorce certificate, Yao Wenwen went out to work. The original owner began to teach while taking care of Chen Yufan's work. Tang Yu didn't plan to get married for a while. Tang Shi also started a small business, and the family's life slowly got better. However, Yao Wenwen had long hated the family Tang people. Many years later, she became the mistress of a big boss while working. Thinking of the family Tang people, she decided to teach the family Tang people a lesson. First, she used her connections to make the original owner unable to teach. Then, she asked the big boss to help her make Tang Shi's business have problems. She only came back when she knew that the family Tang people were not doing well. She came to the family Tang, found Chen Yufan, who was sunbathing in the yard, and told her about how she ruined the original owner's college entrance examination. Speaking of which, she ruined the original owner's college entrance examination 4 times. Chen Yufan was angry. Not long after Yao Wenwen left, she died before she could catch her breath. When Chen Yufan died of anger, it was a big blow to the 3 family Tang siblings. Later, they heard that Yao Wenwen had been here before, and wanted to say something. Tang Shi suspected that Yao Wenwen said something to make his mother die of anger. He planned to argue with Yao Wenwen. Now Yao Wenwen was very arrogant, and had bodyguards around her. She used the excuse that Tang Shi was a hooligan, and wanted to molest her. Not only did she let the bodyguards break one of his legs, but she also reported that Tang Shi molested her. She even found a witness, so Tang Shi had nothing to say. Tang Yu took Tang Shi back to the village. The news of him molesting Yao Wenwen had spread like wildfire. As the big boss's lover, Yao Wenwen made things difficult for the 3 family Tang siblings. She made it difficult for them to do anything, and they had no chance to stand out at all. With the original owner's appearance, there were people who liked her, and she even got married. However, Yao Wenwen's words made that person tremble in fear. She told the pregnant original owner to abort the baby and get a divorce. The original owner didn't remarry, and so did Tang Yu and Tang Shi. The 3 siblings lived in the old house and farmed. It was not until the arrogant Yao Wenwen was taught a lesson by the big boss's wife that they came back to life. With Tang Shi's brain and Tang Yu's strength, the 3 siblings were able to live their lives again. But except for Tang Yu, the original owner and Tang Shi were not in good health, especially the original owner. She was weak since she was in her mother's womb. Later, she had an abortion and hurt her roots. She died earlier than the 2 brothers. Tang Shi hurt his leg, so it was not good for him in the future. At that time, they were rich and could finally live a good life. She was just 48 years old. After the original owner passed away, Tang Shi was so sad that he followed her a few years later. Tang Yu was in good health, but when his family members passed away one by one, he felt like he had lost his soul. He blamed himself. If he didn't care about appearances, and found a virtuous wife who wasn't so good-looking, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. The peak. Chapter 47:29. Tang Yu put all his energy into his work and didn't plan to marry a wife. He was busy day and night. His body gradually collapsed. 10 years later he passed away. Tang Yu sat on a small stool and leaned against the wall behind her. She looked at the hens and roosters in the yard. She was thinking about how to stop Yao Wenwen from marrying into the family. In addition, she also wanted to find a good daughter-in-law for her two brothers. Both of them wouldn't mistreat their daughter-in-law. Yao Wenwen had never worked in the fields after marrying into the family. Even the chores at home were all secretly picked up by her. For the sake of family harmony, Chen Yufan didn't care so much. After all, she could still move. Unfortunately, she met a bad person. Yao Wenwen didn't know what was good for her. As for Yao Wenwen, with her situation and her family and her personality, she definitely wouldn't have a good life. It should be mentioned that Yao Wenwen wasn't the female lead of this world. In this world, she didn't have many entanglements with the female lead. On the contrary, the female lead's appearance led the family to become rich. The female lead's family seemed to have some difficulties at first. Later, with her intelligence and wisdom, she was admitted to a university. She worked together with her husband, and her husband became the richest man in the province. The female lead also had the ability to come back to this small village to help the poor. She knew this because the three family Tang siblings were able to make a fortune quickly because the female lead came back to help the poor. Tang sure had good taste. He was the first person in Shangha village and Shaha village to eat crabs. These were all what the original owner heard. As for what exactly happened, the original owner didn't have the mood to inquire about these things, because there were too many family matters at that time. It's easy to stop Yao Wenwen from marrying into the family. I just need to casually make a plan and expose her true colors to my brother. Then he won't like her. Tang Yu was indeed a little obsessed with beauty, but he wasn't the kind of person who would lose his mind because of beauty. If it weren't for Yao Wenwen's excellent acting skills and the fact that she was suppressed by her family, Tang Yu and her mother might not have agreed to the marriage if they spent more time together. Tang Yu ate sunflower seeds and pondered. She didn't plan to change the current situation. There was really nothing to do at home, so she didn't plan to show off too much. As for the college entrance examination, if it wasn't necessary, she didn't want to take it. System. Dear host, you can't fall. My eldest brother is hardworking, and my second brother has good taste. I believe that they can lead me to a good life. At the very least, there will be a female lead who will come back to help the poor in the future. At that time, the whole village will be rich. System. What about Yao Wenwen? Aren't you going to teach her a lesson? She harmed the original owner's family so badly. None of them had a good ending. I haven't forgotten. I already have an idea on how to deal with her. I just have to make sure she doesn't have a good life. When her life gets better, I'll find some trouble for her and make her life hard and tiring. Tang Yu stood up and said, I still want to show off in front of her and see how comfortable I am. It's decided then. I want to live the life she hopes for. Whatever she wants, I'll show it off in front of her. System. I shouldn't have reminded you. How could the great host forget about this? This plan is really vicious. He didn't want Yao Wenwen's life, but he would make Yao Wenwen unable to vent her anger. Right now, Yao Wenwen should be in the field. I'll make some mint candy and send it to my two brothers. Then I'll sit beside Yao Wenwen and eat sunflower seeds. Host, you're so vicious. You're really vicious. Peak. Chapter 47:30. Outside Tang Yu's courtyard, there was a patch of peppermint. The people who worked in the field relied on the peppermint water to cool down and quench their thirst in the summer. Tang Yu picked some peppermint leaves outside the courtyard and returned to the kitchen to wash them. She was boiling water in the pot. The fire was quite big, it would boil in about 10 minutes. She stuffed the washed peppermint leaves into a large enamel cup. Is there any rock candy in the system space? Anything that could be stored in the system space must be good stuff. Even if it was just a small piece of rock candy, the taste was superior. I'll help you find it. In less than half a minute, the system helped Tang Yu find the rock candy. Tang Yu took out a few pieces and threw them into the enamel cup. 10 minutes later, the water boiled. Tangwa scooped the boiling water into the enamel cup and put the rest into the thermos kettle. After the family got off work, there was no need to boil water anymore. When she was done, she covered the porcelain cup with a towel and held it in her hand. Then, she took her things and went to the field. She often went to the family. Today, when they went to the construction site, they told her where they were. She knew the place. In about 10 minutes, she arrived at her destination. The moment she appeared, someone reminded Tang Yu and Tang Shi. "Your little sister is here. Look, isn't that your little sister? She's even holding an enamel cup. She must be here to bring you water." "Aya, we were just saying that we were almost out of water when your sister came. No wonder you two brothers dote on your sister the most." The young man in the village looked envious. "Why don't I have such a sister?" Tang Yu laughed. "You're not so lucky to be your little sister. Can you take care of your little sister with your little body? Can you do the work of two people alone? Come on." "Hey, I'm just saying. Hurry up, your little sister is here." Tang Yu walked out, and Tang Shi also walked out. At the same time, they came to Tangwa. The moment they saw Tangwa, both of them smiled. The joy on their faces was not fake. "The sun is so bright. Why are you running around? Why aren't you wearing a straw hat?" Tang Shi's tone sounded like he was blaming her, but in reality, every word he said was filled with love. He wiped the straw hat with a bit of cloth inside his clothes and conveniently covered Tangwa's head with it. He then wiped his hands and pinched Tangwa's face. "What if you get tanned? It wasn't easy for your second brother to raise you so well." Tang Yu pushed Tang Shi away. "Get out of the way. Everyone raised our sister together. Don't take all the credit." "Big brother, second brother, I brought you some mint water," Tangwa said with a smile. "It's almost cold. You should be out of water soon, right?" She expected that they would come back to get water before long. The two brothers were still fighting for credit, but when they heard Tangwa's words, they immediately beamed with joy and laughed foolishly. "You're really a good girl. As expected of second brother's good sister." Tang Shi touched Tangwa's head, but at this time, his hand could only touch the straw hat on her head, but he was very satisfied. "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get the water." Tang Yu interrupted Tang Shi. "It's so hot. Go home and stay. Don't get sunburned." Tangwa shook her head this time. "Big brother, I'll stay here for a while. It's so stuffy in the house. I came out to get some fresh air. Then find a shady place." Tang Yu's gaze looked behind Tangwa. There was a big tree there. "Go under the tree over there. The top." Chapter 47:31. "Okay." Tangwa put the straw hat on Tang Shi's head. Tang Shi chuckled and gave Tang Yu a provocative look. Tang Yu said, "Childish. Are you jealous?" "Haha." Tang Shi was proud. Tang Yu took the enamel cup and walked away. After 2 steps, he stopped and turned to Tang Shi. He took a big sip from the enamel cup and said, "It's delicious. Thirst-quenching. Sweet. Cool. Brother, leave some for me. This is from my sister. You're too much." When Tang Shi grabbed the enamel cup, he found that half of the water was gone. He shouted, "You're too much. You drank half of it in one gulp. Rude. Can't you be a little more polite? You'll scare your sister if you gulp it down." Tangwa's eyes were smiling. She found a place under the shade of a tree and sat down. She looked at the busy villagers in the field. Although the villagers would say that she was lazy behind her back, her family didn't mind. And if Tang Shi and Tang Yu heard it, they would definitely be angry. Those people only dared to say a few words behind her back. They didn't dare to offend her in front of her, mainly because they were afraid of being beaten. Later, they gradually got used to it and fewer people talked about it. "Where's Yao Wenwen?" She looked around but couldn't find Yao Wenwen. Yao Wenwen must be nearby, but most of the people in the village were working here. It was impossible for her to see everyone at a glance. The system quickly scanned the field and quickly found Yao Wenwen's location. It told Tangwa Yao Wenwen's location, but Tangwa didn't go there immediately. The weather was so hot. It was really uncomfortable to be in the sun. There was no power to cultivate in this world. Nigong could be cultivated in every world. She just came here and didn't have time to cultivate. so she couldn't use Nigong to avoid the heat. Her body was indeed delicate. It wouldn't be good if she got sick from the sun. She found some vines around, and planned to weave a sun umbrella with vines and leaves. The people working in the field knew she was here, but they were not interested in talking. Work was the most important thing. Whether they could eat or not depended on how much they could do. They didn't have time to chat. 20 minutes later, Tangguo weaved a sun umbrella made of branches, vines, and leaves. She held the sun umbrella and walked in the direction of Yao Wenwen. Just as she took 2 steps, someone noticed her movement. After a few glances, the people in the field began to talk. The Tang family's little sister is holding a leaf umbrella. She doesn't look like much. She's someone who went to high school after all. She's smart and skillful. I'm envious. Even without that umbrella, I don't think it's a big deal to walk around in the sun. Dream on. Between Shangha village and Shaha village, who is as lucky as Tangguo? Shangha village and Shaha village were actually next to each other. Even the fields might cross. Sometimes they would bump into each other when they were working. The people in the 2 villages were more familiar with each other. Yao Wenwen also heard people talking about family Tang girl. When she heard those words, she felt a little sad. Why wasn't she born in that kind of family? She followed the crowd's gaze and looked up at Tangguo. Sure enough, she saw Tangguo holding a sun umbrella made of tree vines and leaves. Tangguo was fair and tender. She had never done manual labor. She was simply a beautiful scenery in the field. Yao Wenwen's heart was very sour. She said casually, "What's the use of raising her well? She still has to get married." Chapter 47:32. If she doesn't do anything in her parents' house, she'll have a hard time in her in-laws' house. Yao Wenwen continued. In my opinion, if her family pampers her like this, it'll harm her sooner or later. A few young ladies around them nodded in agreement. That's true. Didn't she graduate from high school? She's already 17, and will be able to get married soon. I heard that someone in the village likes her. However, after hearing that she doesn't work at home, doesn't know anything, and isn't in good health, they gave up on the idea. Luli said softly. Yao Wenwen felt even more confident after hearing that. So if her family is capable, they'll take care of her for the rest of her life. Otherwise, who would dare to marry a woman who doesn't do anything? But I'm still envious. Yao Xianxian looked at Tangguo enviously. Looking at her glowing white face, she became even more envious. If my family is willing to take care of me for the rest of my life, and live like this every day, I can stay single for the rest of my life. It's not even dark yet, but you're already dreaming. Yao Wenwen retorted. Yao Xianxian was her biological sister. Get to work. If mom sees you later, she'll scold you again. Although she said that, Yao Wenwen's movements were not fast. Who liked to work in the fields? Who was willing to work in the fields with their backs facing the sky? Yao Xianxian was right. If she could have the same fate as Tangguo, she would not want to get married either. But was it possible? Women would get married. If she didn't get married in this village, she would definitely be laughed at by others. However, it was not her turn to be laughed at. Her family could only keep her for a year at most. She would be 19 this year. Her parents were already thinking about it, and were even discussing finding her a well-to-do family. They said it was for her own good, but they just wanted to get more benefits for their younger brother. Sister, aren't you envious? Yao Xianxian asked softly. Look at her. There's no mud on her at all. Yao Wenwen looked up again. Tangguo's body was really clean. Suddenly, she felt a little inferior standing in front of the other party. Her body bent down a little. Wow, she's still eating melon seeds. Yao Xianxian tugged at Yao Wenwen's arm, her face full of envy. At this moment Luli said, I heard that Aunt Yufan was afraid that she would be bored at home, so she specially cooked it for her to pass the time at home. Get to work. Yao Wenwen didn't want to listen to this. Hearing this made her uncomfortable. She couldn't help but cut harder. Why was fate so unfair? She believed that her appearance was not inferior to Tangguo's. If she could live in the family Tang like her appearance would not be inferior. As she worked, Yao Wenwen got closer and closer to Tangguo. When she finished the task in front of her, Tangwa was still squatting by the roadside. She could feel Tangwa's gaze, even without raising her head. "Do you want some sunflower seeds?" A very pleasant voice entered her ears. Yao Wenwen subconsciously raised her head and saw Tangwa's smile. Yao Wenwen's lips curled into a smile. "No, melon seeds make you heady and thirsty. I can't help but drink water. I don't like them either." Several rejections showed that she didn't want to eat them at all. She was especially unhappy. Couldn't she see that she was working? She even asked if she wanted to eat melon seeds. Was there something wrong with her brain? Tangwa sensed Yao Wenwen's displeasure and had no intention of leaving. "I think it's delicious." System. If this was the world of cultivation, Yao Wenwen might have swung her sickle at the host's head on the spot. Those words were really asking for a beating. Peak. Chapter 47-33. Yao Wenwen was already annoyed, and she didn't want to talk to Tangwa. Tangwa knew that Yao Wenwen usually looked quiet, because the Yao family suppressed their daughter. Yao Wenwen couldn't do anything at home, let alone show her true nature. Even the Yao family didn't know what Yao Wenwen was thinking. In fact, she was a little smart. She looked very hardworking, but in fact, she didn't do much. She just gave people the feeling that she was hardworking and down to earth. This was her disguise. When she came to the family, no one suppressed her. Her personality and desires were constantly exposed. "Sis, don't you like eating sunflower seeds the most?" Yao Xuanxuan's words almost made Yao Wenwen want to hide in a hole. "At home, the sunflower seeds are all mine. We can't even have a taste. Do you want to eat?" Tangwa said to Yao Xianxian, and stretched out a friendly hand. There was a handful of sunflower seeds in her hand. "I'll share some with you. My mom fried a lot for me." Yao Xianxian didn't refuse. "Thank you. Wait for me. I'll cut off the seeds in front of me." "Okay, hurry up. I'll leave it for you." Yao Wenwen wasn't a good person, but Yao Xianxian was quite good. Although she was a bit arrogant, she was actually quite honest. She was a bit silly. She was often tricked by Yao Wenwen, but she still helped Yao Wenwen count money. Yao Xianxian quickly finished the chores in front of her and ran to Tangwa with a sickle. Tangwa grabbed a handful of sunflower seeds and gave it to her. "Here, eat. Do you still have water? If not, I'll share some with you." "I still have some," Yao Xianxian said with a red face, and found the enamel cup next to her. Tangwa looked at the little bit and took a sip. She generously poured half of the water in her canteen to Yao Xianxian. The canteen was filled with either mint water or plain water. There was a string on the canteen that could be hung around the neck. It was a birthday gift that Tang Yu bought for her in the city. She knew that she wouldn't go back immediately, so she brought a bunch of sunflower seeds and put the canteen on. It was summer, and they couldn't go anywhere without water, so they had to bring it along. Yao Xianxian looked at the clear water in the porcelain cup, and then looked at the melon seeds in the pocket of her clothes. She was so touched that she almost cried. Her eyes were a little red. "Tangwa, thank you. I haven't eaten melon seeds for a long time." "You're welcome. After all, we were once classmates." Yao Xianxian thought about it. They were indeed classmates in primary school. After she finished primary school, she did not go back to school. She was not as lucky as Tangwa to be able to study until high school. How could her family spend money on her? "You have a good memory." Tangwa smiled. "Aren't my grades pretty good too?" Yes. You were the first in class, unlike me who was always at the bottom." Yao Xianxian quickly nodded. "You were the class monitor at that time." "Yeah. You always come over to collect my homework." Yao Xianxian thought of something very scary. "But I do my homework every morning at school." There was a lot of work at home that she didn't have time to do. The two chatted like this, eating sunflower seeds and drinking water, as if they were old friends for many years. The moment she saw Yao Xianxian, Tangwa decided to be friends with her. She was doing well. If Yao Wenwen didn't pay attention to her, the other party wouldn't know. But if there was a Yao Xianxian, she would definitely reveal this matter. As for the things she gave to Yao Xianxian, it was to repay her for helping to pass on the message. She believed that Yao Xianxian would definitely share her daily life with Yao Wenwen in a very envious tone. The summit. Chapter 47:34. This child was honest. She would answer whatever Yao Wenwen asked. This child didn't hold a grudge. She would forget who was nice to her. Yao Wenwen was resting at the side. She heard Tanghua and Yao Xianxian chatting and laughing from time to time. She felt it was very harsh. Yao Xianxian, it's time to work. There's still a lot of work over there. Yao Wenwen shouted. If you don't get enough work points today, let's see if Mom will scold you when we go back. Yao Xianxian almost finished the melon seeds in her hand and drank half of the water. She didn't want to delay anymore. Tanghua, thank you. I'm going to work. I envy you so much. When Yao Xianxian said this, her eyes were clear. It was pure envy. She knew she couldn't have such a life, so she could only say it. She felt that Tanghua was quite good. She wasn't as bad as others said. She had such a life. Others should be envious. They should be the same as her. They just didn't say it. Okay, go ahead. When you're not busy, come and play with me. Yao Xianxian looked at Tanggua's umbrella. Your leaf umbrella is so beautiful. How did you make it? Can you teach me when you're free? Of course. Tanghua found that Yao Wenwen's face was about to turn green. She was in a good mood and was more kind to Yao Xianxian. She felt that there would be more opportunities in the future if she gave Yao Xianxian some pointers. With Yao Xuanxuan's down-to-earth and hardworking personality, she definitely wouldn't have a bad life. Yao Wenwen would be jealous to death. Then it's a deal. When I'm not busy, I'll come and learn from you. The leaf umbrella was beautiful. She couldn't have a life like Tanggua's. It wasn't too much to ask for a leaf umbrella, right? Yao Xianxian waved the sickle happily and walked quickly to another field. She bent down and worked very energetically. After a day of work, Tanghua followed Tang Shi home. The chimney in the kitchen was emitting green smoke. Chen Yufan was cooking. Tanghua went to the kitchen and called Chen Yufan. Then she helped them get water. This was something the original owner would do. Actually, she wasn't as lazy as she thought. She would take the initiative to do the work that she could do at home. The people in her family wouldn't let her do anything that she didn't need to do. My sister is clever with her hands. She's the smartest girl in the village. Tang Shi admired the leaf umbrella made by Tanghua. Everyone in the village knew that Tanghua had made a leaf umbrella, and many people were discussing it. Tang Yu agreed. After all, she's our sister. Chen Yufan came out to call the three siblings to eat. When she heard their conversation, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. However, the words that came out of her mouth were very strange. No matter what, they are all my daughters. How bad can they be? As for those who don't know, it's nothing more than jealousy in their stomachs. In the face of the whole family's flattery, Tanghua was also a little embarrassed. This family's filter was too heavy. Let's eat. Chen Yufan had cooked 4 eggs, so her family was considered to be a good family in the village. These 2 years of relaxation, the hardworking Chen Yufan didn't go to the fields much, so she raised more chickens. Every household did the same, and no one would say anything. She knew in her heart that it was fine as long as there were fewer chickens than the village heads. When the hen grew up, she would wait to lay eggs. The whole family ate eggs every day, so it was enough. While eating, Chen Yufan remembered that someone was talking about matchmaking for her son today. Boss, you're 22 years old this year. Your life is getting better and better. Everyone can clearly feel that your life is getting better. Mom will find someone to matchmake for you. Peek. Chapter 47:35. If you delay any longer, the girl might think there's something wrong with you. Tang Yu thought for a while. Okay, Mom. Help me arrange it. Boss, what kind of girl do you like? Give me a request. I'll talk to the matchmaker another day. Tang Yu, someone pretty. She doesn't have to be prettier than your sister. Half as pretty will do. Tanghua. I knew it. Tang Shi almost burst out laughing. Brother, among the girls in the nearby villages, which one is better than our sister? You're dreaming. If she has a good foundation, it's okay to marry her and raise her. As long as she's not bad, she can live a good life. Tang Yu said, I can do the work of several people. In the future, she can help Mom at home. She doesn't have to go out to be exposed to the elements. Oh, now you know how to dote on your wife. Chen Yufan said sourly but still agreed. Okay, Mom will keep an eye out for you. Tang Yu took after his father. When Father Tang was still alive, she didn't suffer much. But after Father Tang passed away, she was really tired for a few years. At the same time, at the Yao family's dining table, Father Yao and Mother Yao were also discussing Yao Wenwen's marriage. The two of them mentioned to Yao Wenwen that someone came to propose marriage today. Yao Wenwen could only remain silent. Anyway, she couldn't make the decision. Today was really not a good day for her. Now when she closed her eyes, she could think of Tang Gua and Yao Xianxian happily eating melon seeds. Yao Xianxian didn't seem to notice this. She was tired today and kept eating. Father Yao, we must ask the matchmaker to recommend a good one. Of course. With our Wenwen's face, the family can't be too bad. Mother Yao said. If they don't have a good family background, it's impossible to marry our Wenwen. There are so many boys in the village who want to marry our Wenwen. Yao Wenwen was beautiful and good at work. She had a good reputation and was very popular in the village. When she was 17, someone came to talk about it. But Father Yao and Mother Yao didn't agree. They planned to stay for 2 more years to earn more work points for the family. If she got married, she would belong to another family. It was too much of a loss for them to raise her. At night, Yao Wenwen tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. She only closed her eyes when dawn approached. After closing his eyes for a while, he hurriedly put on his clothes and got up. His complexion was not good, and his head was a little dizzy. Today, she woke up late and was scolded by Yao Wenwen's mother. When she went out with her tools, Yao Wenwen stepped on something and slipped. She hit the back of her head and fainted. Sis! Yao Xianxian was in front. When she heard the commotion behind her, she quickly ran over. Over at the Yao family's side, there was a commotion. Tang Gua didn't get up in the morning. The original owner was used to sleeping in. She thought it was a good habit. System. Host, you don't know how to make progress. Do you really not plan to lead your family to prosperity? I'll just be responsible for enjoying this family. They know me too well, especially my second brother. He's a shrewd person. There's nothing much to do. Let's wait for another 2 years. By then, I'll help second brother find some business opportunities and give him some pointers. System. You won't even let go of your own brother. Are you waiting for your brother to become rich so that he can raise you, a piece of trash? How can you say that, little Tongzi? You're too arrogant. System. Sob sob sob. Why don't you go find your big cutie to play? Anyway, I have nothing to do for now. Where can I find him? Who knows where he is? Is he like a headless fly? Peek. Chapter 4736. System. I don't know who said that in the previous world. See you in the next life. Host, does your conscience hurt? No conscience. System. Are you sure you don't want to find him? I scanned the nearby villages and got the information of the good-looking young men who are suitable for marriage. Do you want to take a look? Do you want to change your name to Matchmaker System? No, I need an official number. The system rejected. It had its own stubbornness. It wanted to wait for the boss of the Space-Time Bureau to come back and let it officially join the Bureau. Many of the people in the system home were its underlings. It had helped them a lot. When the boss of the Space-Time Bureau came back, he would definitely give it some face. What Matchmaker System? It was definitely not proper. It was like a pirated version. I'll sleep for a while more. You can go and play with your underlings. System. Alright, I'll let it mourn for that guy for a second. It's better for it to appear automatically. The host was so lazy. How could it go and find him? Didn't it already know? It was such a happy life. It had a mother and 2 brothers who loved it. If that guy didn't appear, the host wouldn't be lacking anything. TSK TSK TSK. What a pitiful guy. I sympathized with him for a second. Tang Gua woke up close to noon. After she woke up, she helped Chen Yufan wash the vegetables. After Chen Yufan finished cooking, she took the initiative to send it to her 2 brothers. It would take half an hour to go back and forth. Therefore, she planned to bring her share over to eat. The 3 of you have a good relationship. It's okay to eat together. Your brothers didn't dote on you for nothing. Chen Yufan was very satisfied with the current situation. Her life was getting better and better. Her 3 children had a good relationship. This was what she wanted to see the most. Tangwa brought the food to the 2 brothers. After the shock, the 2 brothers were filled with joy. They even walked with the wind. They even shouted to the people around them that their sister had brought them food. For lunch, Chen Yufan usually cooked until they were full. She didn't use any good ingredients. After all, they were eating in front of everyone. If they ate well, it was easy to make others jealous. If others were jealous, it was easy to get into trouble. If they wanted to eat good food, of course, it was only at night. The 3 siblings sat together and ate. The others were envious. There were many people who sent food over. Usually, the person who didn't work in the fields would cook and deliver the food. Because some of the fields were quite far away, it took a long time to go back and forth and eat. With someone delivering food to him, he could save time on walking and work more. Tangwa didn't find Yao Xianxian in the crowd. Big brother, second brother, why don't I see the Yao sisters? Are you familiar with them? Tang Shi asked. He just asked casually, thinking that Tangwa and they were good friends. Of course, he knew the people in the village, but he was not very familiar with them. I'm closer to Yao Xianxian, Tangwa replied. But I didn't see her. Did she come today? I'm not sure. Tang Yu said. I didn't pay attention to that. Tang Shi. I know. Something happened to the Yao family. Tangwa was surprised. Did something happen? She recalled that the Yao family should be fine at this time. Yao Wenwen hit the back of her head and is unconscious. Tang Shi saw that the 2 of them were curious and explained. I heard that when we went out this morning, the village doctor went over. I don't know how the situation is. Previously, I heard the people close to the Yao family discussing it. At that time, there was quite a commotion. Oh, I've been working all morning. I didn't stop. Tang Yu explained. Yesterday, Chen Yufan mentioned that she was going to tell him about his wife. He was also a little excited, so he was very energetic and worked especially hard. Peak. Chapter 47-37. In the future, other than treating his mother and sister well, he also had to treat his wife well. He had to work hard, so he didn't care about anything else. Yao Xianxian should be back in the afternoon. Work can't be delayed. We'll lose a lot in half a day, Tang Shi said to Tangwa. Guogua can ask about the situation then. He already remembered that his sister was close to Yao Xianxian, but she was a stranger to Yao Wenwen. When his sister heard that something happened to Yao Wenwen, she didn't have any reaction, which meant that she really wasn't familiar with her. Naturally, Yao Wenwen was also excluded from his list of familiar faces. Tangwa didn't know that Tang Shi was imagining so many things. She made up her mind to come over in the afternoon to see what exactly happened to the Yao family. She didn't remember this happening. In the afternoon, Tangwa came over with a big porcelain cup of mint water. She still had her water bottle around her neck, and this time, it was also filled with mint water. The system already told her that Yao Xianxian was here, but Yao Wenwen wasn't. She fell and hurt her head, so she definitely couldn't go to work today. She handed the porcelain cup to her 2 brothers and went to find Yao Xianxian. Why didn't you come in the morning? Tangwa squatted beside Yao Xianxian. I heard that something happened to your family. Yao Xianxian didn't stop. My sister fell this morning and fainted. She scared me to death. What happened? There was a stone at the door. My younger brother threw it there, and my sister accidentally stepped on it. Luckily, she woke up and is fine. She should be able to go to work tomorrow. Yao Xianxian answered, but she was muttering in her heart. When her sister woke up, she was startled. She didn't know if she became stupid from the fall. She was also laughing strangely in the room. She didn't know what was going on. Tangwa didn't ask anymore. When Yao Xianxian was resting, she gave her some melon seeds and some mint water. This made Yao Xianxian very touched. She couldn't help but tell Tangwa about her worries. At this moment, only the 2 of them were under the shade of the tree, and no one came to listen. I'm a little worried that my sister might become stupid from the fall. Tangwa, what's wrong? Ever since my sister woke up, she has been leaning against the bed and giggling. Her gaze is very strange. Yao Xianxian tried hard to recall what she had seen. She doesn't look like my sister anymore. I hope she'll be fine in 2 days. Tangwa felt strange. After hearing Yao Xuanxuan's words, she had already sent the system to the Yao family to investigate the situation. Not long after, the system's voice sounded in her ears. Host, that Yao Wenwen should have been reborn. Now she's the only one in the Yao family. She's mumbling in her room, saying that she doesn't want to marry that unlucky guy Tang Yu. She wants to marry the future richest man in the province. The future richest man in the province? Tang Guo was speechless. Are all reborn people this confident? Host, you don't say. With Yao Xuanxuan's face, if you strike first and gain the upper hand, you might really succeed. Who will be the richest man in the province in the future? Could it be the one I know from my memory? The man that Tang Guo was talking about was the man that Jiang Qian married in this world. He Qi, what kind of person was he Qi? There was very little information in her memory. There was no evaluation, mainly because there was no information, and she didn't know his background. He Qi from Xiahe village. The system told Tang Guo the information about He Qi. Just now, I went to the He family and gathered some information about He Qi in Xiahe village. He's a loafer. Just like the host, he never goes to the fields. He's lazy and only wakes up in the afternoon. Tang Guo, is this how you compare them? The peak. Chapter 4738. Alright, it's my fault, my dear host. The system continued to talk about He Qi. He Qi is really a loafer. He only knows how to eat. He's already 20 years old and relies on his parents and 3 sisters to support him. Even though his family background is not bad, no girl likes him. His parents are very worried about this. With He Qi's appearance, no one wants to marry him. So, how did he become the richest man? Tang Guo was puzzled. Do you think he's really a good-for-nothing, and not a wolf in sheep's clothing? At least that's what I've heard so far. The specifics still need to be observed. He Qi just asked his parents for money and went to the city. I've already covered the city to see what he's going to do. He's definitely going to buy delicious food or cigarettes. The system said, he doesn't seem to have the potential to become the richest man, unless there's a big change. Tang Guo didn't pay much attention to it. He Qi might become rich, so it was hard to say. Yao Xianxian wanted to marry into the He family, but she might not be able to live the life she wanted. In fact, some people were so happy because they had worked hard. Others only saw the glory of others and didn't know the story behind it. For example, the female lead Jiang Qian married He Qi, and He Qi became the richest man in the future. She guessed that it must have something to do with Jiang Qian. Success wasn't a coincidence. If Yao Wenwen were to marry He Qi, it would be hard to say. Damn, my dear host, my eyes are burning. The system's voice made Tang Guo come back to her senses. What's wrong? What dirty things did He Qi do? The system said, I want to wash my eyes. I saw something I shouldn't have. You're just a system. It should be fine. No, I was originally a pure and clean system. Now I've been polluted by He Qi. The system whined and continued. He Qi took the money and found a prostitute. He's hiding in a small house and doing shameful things. Tang Guo was silent. Then don't look. Yao Wenwen was reborn. She knew that He Qi would become rich, so she should take action immediately and try to marry He Qi before the female lead Jiang Qian. The next day, Yao Wenwen did not come to work. Tang Guo asked Yao Xianxian. Yao Xianxian, my sister said she has a headache. Maybe she really hit her head. She won't be able to come to work these few days. I see. Tang Guo didn't stay there for too long, because the system told her that Yao Wenwen had left for the neighboring village. Tang Guo planned to meet Yao Wenwen. She just wanted to have a look and didn't want to do anything. The two met at the entrance of the village. The moment Yao Wenwen saw Tang Guo, her eyes were filled with hatred. Tang Guo, this despicable sister-in-law. Yao Wenwen quickly retracted her gaze. Her heart was filled with joy. In this life, she would not marry that trash Tang Yu. The family was a wolf's den. There was no place for her at all. She wanted to marry He Qi and win He Qi's heart as soon as possible. In the future, she would be the wife of the richest man in the province. As for this little family Tang, she would teach them a lesson in the future. In her previous life, they couldn't do anything to her. In this life, they wouldn't have a good life either. In her previous life, after she became the lover of the big boss, she understood that only when she had absolute power, she could trample these ants to death. Now, she didn't want to deal with the family tang. She didn't want to ruin her reputation, and it would be difficult for her to marry into the He family. I heard from Yao Xianxian that you hit your head. Are you alright now? Tang Gua asked. She was still eating sunflower seeds, as if she couldn't see Yao Wenwen's unhappy gaze. Yao Wenwen smiled and looked proud. I'm alright now. Peek. Chapter 4739. Yao Wenwen, where are you going? Yao Wenwen was impatient. Of course, she wouldn't tell Tang Gua the truth. Just walking around, getting some fresh air. I'll go first. Yao Wenwen didn't want to argue with Tang Gua for the time being. Anyway, she wouldn't marry into the family Tang now. Thinking of He Qi, she thought of Jiang Qian. She had to admit that Jiang Qian was prettier than her. She had just graduated from high school. Before Jiang Qian's father got into an accident, she didn't have the chance to work. Her face and hands were probably still tender. When He Qi saw Jiang Qian, he would definitely be tempted. No, she had to think of a way to prevent Jiang Qian from marrying He Qi. She remembered that Jiang Qian was desperate because of her family's difficulties. She was desperate because of the He family's betrothal gift. In her previous life, she was jealous of Tang Gua and Jiang Qian. How could they have a better life than her? At this time, Jiang Qian's family should be at their wits' end. Why not let Jiang Qian marry Tang Yu, and let Jiang Qian be bullied by her sister-in-law in the family Tang? Tang Gua also stood in the same place silently. Yao Wenwen should be unscrupulous in marrying He Qi at this time. She probably wanted to seduce He Qi. She didn't go with her. She just came to see Yao Wenwen to see what she was thinking. Looking at Yao Wenwen's arrogant face, she wasn't worried anymore. Yao Wenwen always wanted to rely on others to get benefits. She was digging her own grave. How's the He family's environment? Tang Gua looked at Yao Wenwen's back and asked the system. System. Everyone in the He family treats He Qi as the apple of their eye. His parents and his 3 sisters are all praising him to the heavens. The He sisters are all married. However, the 3 sisters are married in the same village. They are very close and see each other every day. Although I don't know how He Qi got rich, according to the current situation of the He family, if Yao Wenwen really marries him, she will suffer a lot. The He sisters dote on He Qi, but they won't tolerate their sister-in-law being lazy. Father He and Mother He were probably the same. Yao Wenwen wants to wait for He Qi to make a fortune, so she must endure the humiliation for a while. She might even obediently work for the He family. After Tang Gua's analysis, she felt that Yao Wenwen's choice was really wonderful. She ignored Yao Wenwen and returned home. She planned to ask Chen Yufan about her brother's marriage proposal. She wanted to check it out. Before she reached home, she saw smoke coming out of the chimney. Her mother was cooking again. She ran into the kitchen. Chen Yufan saw her and said, "It's such a hot day. Why are you in such a hurry? If you sweat, you'll catch a cold." "Mom, have you found a suitable match for Big Brother?" Chen Yufan didn't think much about Tang Gua's question. She just thought that Tang Gua was curious. "Not yet. I just mentioned it to the matchmaker. It will take a few days at least. Your brother still wants a good-looking one. He's so picky. I also want a good-looking sister-in-law." Chen Yufan rolled her eyes. "Got it. I'll find a good-looking one for your brother." She felt that her son wasn't bad. He was strong and capable. There was nothing wrong with finding a good-looking one. However, at this time, other than the city girls, which girl didn't work in the fields? How good-looking could she be? She looked at Tang Gua sitting there, and thought that her daughter was well-raised. Who knew which boy would benefit in the future? Chen Yufan felt sad. She couldn't bear to see her daughter suffer. In the future, she must keep her eyes open. The peak. Chapter 4740. She would look for a son-in-law based on the standards of her 2 sons. He would definitely dote on her daughter. After putting herself in her son's shoes, Chen Yufan did not have any thoughts about her sons doting on their wives in the future. Which family's daughter was not a treasure at home? "Mom, if you find someone suitable, you have to bring me along," Tang Gua said. "I want to help Big Brother." Chen Yufan agreed. Okay, I'll bring you along. Chen Yufan had her own considerations about this. If she brought her daughter along, the other party would see that her daughter was fair and tender, so he should have some idea of what to do. If they could accept it, everyone would be happy. If they could not accept it, they should give up on the idea of marriage as soon as possible to avoid any conflicts in the future. She didn't want to find a fiendish daughter-in-law who didn't like her daughter and would cause trouble at home. Thinking of Tanggua, Chen Yufan could not help but think of the future. Gua, have you thought about what you will do in the future? Chen Yufan was not in a hurry, because Tanggua's grades were very good. After graduation, her teacher secretly revealed to her that the college entrance examination might be reinstated. Tanggua told the news to her family. Everyone agreed that Tanggua was still young and could wait for 2 years. Mom, what you mean is, if that thing doesn't work out. Chen Yufan said it vaguely because this matter was revealed by Tanggua's teacher. No one else talked about it because they were afraid that it would cause trouble if they were accidentally heard. Tanggua actually did not want to take the college entrance examination. She had to take the college entrance examination in many worlds. In this life, she wanted to be more lazy. She did not want to leave her hometown. She only wanted to stay in the village and wait for her brothers to become successful. Then, she would wait for the female lead to come back and lead the village to prosperity. Mom, why don't I go to school to be a teacher? Tanggua said. The village is small. There should be a shortage of teachers. She went to the county town to study in high school. The probability of her going to high school at this time was very high. Most of her peers in the village went to primary school. Those who could go to junior high school could be counted on one hand, let alone her who went to high school. Yao Xianxian, for example, graduated from primary school. Yao Wenwen was better than Yao Xianxian. She went to junior high school, but she only went to the field in the 2nd year. The female lead of Shaha village, Jiang Qian, just graduated from high school. However, they were not in the same class. Shangha village and Shaha village did not have many high school students. As for the small village mentioned by Tanggua, it's a primary school in a few neighboring villages. There are only 2 teachers in the school, but they are all at the high school level. Teaching 2 students is not a problem. In this life, she wanted to live a peaceful life. In the future, the Tang family would focus on the village, so she naturally did not want to go out. A village with a female lead was destined to be extraordinary. The system silently ridiculed. A village with a big host must not be ordinary, right? Only a ghost would believe that this was a simple and ordinary life. Just wait and see, it definitely wasn't going to be like this. If that thing really works out, does Guogua still want to take the college entrance examination? Of course, Chen Yufan supported Tanggua to continue taking the college entrance examination. She heard from the educated youths in the village that once she got into university, she would be able to eat from the government. If that thing worked out, the educated youths in the village would probably leave the village. Chapter 47-41. Whether I succeed or not, I will become a teacher. Mom, I don't want to leave you, big brother and second brother. Chen Yufan's heart ached. How could she refuse? But she still said, let's wait and see. Didn't your teacher remind you that it will happen in 2 years? The reason why teacher Tanggua reminded her of this was that she was afraid that her family couldn't wait for her to get married. It would be more troublesome if she wanted to take the exam then. Okay. While Tanggua and Chen Yufan were talking about the future, Yao Wenwen, who had already left the village, planned to meet Hiqi. However, she walked around the He family twice and didn't see Hiqi. Hiqi's sister's children told her that Hiqi had gone to the city again. The children were playing and talking about whether Hiqi had gone to the city to buy delicious food. Yao Wenwen, who couldn't find Hiqi, thought of someone. It was Aunt Zhang, the matchmaker in Shaha village. Aunt Zhang was a famous matchmaker in the nearby villages. She was always there when a family wanted to marry a daughter or a daughter-in-law. Yao Wenwen turned and went directly to Jiang Qian's house. She was not familiar with Jiang Qian, but when she went to the field, she had seen Jiang Qian deliver food to Jiang Qian's parents several times. She mainly wanted to go to the Jiang family to see how it was going. Coincidentally, when she arrived at the Jiang family, she saw Jiang Qian coming out of the door. When Jiang Qian saw Yao Wenwen standing outside, she was stunned. Yao Wenwen. Jiang Qian had a good memory and recognized Yao Wenwen at once. She was from Shangha village. She had met her when she delivered food to her parents. Yao Wenwen raised her eyebrows because Jiang Qian's appearance now was much darker and thinner than when they met before. She looked at Jiang Qian's hands and found that they were much rougher than before. Even so, Jiang Qian's radiance couldn't be hidden. She was a little beauty at first glance. No wonder He-Chi liked her. Where are you going? Yao Wenwen looked at the cloth bag in Jiang Qian's hand. Judging from its bulging shape, it looked like a lunchbox. Didn't you go to the field today? I went in the morning and came back to cook. I have to send food to my dad, Jiang Qian replied. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Otherwise, my dad will have to wait for a long time. Of course, Yao Wenwen knew that Jiang Qian's father had broken his leg and was currently in the hospital in the town. The town was not far from the village. If they walked fast, they would arrive in half an hour. Yao Wenwen didn't know what was going on with Father Jiang, but she knew that he needed a lot of money. Otherwise, his leg would be crippled. Perhaps he needed a sum of money for the surgery. Father Jiang had only been in the hospital for a week, and he had already spent all his savings. He could not afford the surgery. Yao Wenwen guessed that Jiang Qian would find a matchmaker to talk about her marriage. She didn't chase after Jiang Qian. If it wasn't necessary, she wouldn't have come over to check on the situation. As long as she could stop Jiang Qian from marrying He-Chi, she would be relieved. Then, she could slowly plan to be together with He-Chi. However, the Jiang family's situation was urgent. If she didn't want Jiang Qian to marry He-Chi, she had to find a way to let someone else take over. The person's family couldn't be too poor. They had to be able to pay for Father Jiang's surgery. Yao Wenwen suddenly laughed out loud. Wasn't the family Tang the best candidate? Tang Yu was a beauty lover. When he saw Jiang Qian's face, he would definitely agree. The summit. Chapter 47-42. After figuring this out, Yao Wenwen left happily. 2 days later, she pretended to accidentally bump into Aunt Zhang, who was chatting with someone. She didn't expect that Aunt Zhang was talking to someone about her. Aunt Zhang even praised her for being one of the few good-looking and hard-working people in Shangha village. Yao Wenwen pretended not to know and walked over. Aunt Zhang couldn't say this in front of Yao Wenwen, so she talked about Tang Yu. This family Tang boss is really a weirdo. He insisted on having a pretty one. Aunt Zhang glanced at Yao Wenwen's face as she spoke. Yao Wenwen was actually not bad, but she couldn't say this in front of her. You see, I'm stumped as a matchmaker. Yao Wenwen looked at Aunt Zhang's expression. It was obvious that Aunt Zhang liked her. It wouldn't be long before she went to her house to talk about this. She didn't want to marry that useless Tang Yu. No, she had to dispel Aunt Zhang's idea. Fortunately, she came today. Otherwise, Aunt Zhang would probably come to her house tomorrow. It would be too late to stop her. He even said that even if she's not the prettiest and can't be compared to the family Tang girl, at least half is fine. Aunt Zhang was angry and amused. He's looking for a fairy. She had to admit that the family Tang girl was indeed beautiful. How could she not be beautiful after being raised by the family Tang girl? Many people asked her about the family Tang girl. Unfortunately, she didn't have that intention at all. Besides, not everyone could afford to raise a fairy. After knowing the situation of the family Tang girl, even if the family Tang girl was a fairy, they would stop at the sight of her. I know someone who's not worse than the family Tang girl. Yao Wenwen knew that the opportunity to interject had come. Aunt Zhang was curious. Who? She was a famous matchmaker in the nearby village. How come she didn't know about this person? Jiang Qian from Shaha village. I've met her before, so I'm a little familiar with her. She's pretty, at least much prettier than me. She's not worse than the family Tang girl. When Yao Wenwen praised Tang Gua and Jiang Qian, she was actually going against her conscience. She didn't think she was bad at all. But for her own purpose, she could only praise them like this. Jiang Qian. Aunt Zhang was stunned. Isn't she still in school? Although she controlled the information of unmarried men and women in several villages, there was a delay in the information. Moreover, Jiang Qian was only 18 years old and had good grades. The Jiang family did not reveal any information, so she did not think about it for the time being. Most importantly, she was not from Xiahe village and did not know what had happened to the Jiang family a week ago. If they had known that Father Jiang's leg was broken, they would have known about it long ago. In her previous life, because of this, she introduced Yao Wenwen to Tang Yu. Jiang Qian's news only came out after the two of them had gotten along. Coincidentally, He Qi from the He family also wanted a pretty girl, so she played matchmaker. It's been a few months since I graduated. I passed by there before. There seems to be something going on with the Jiang family. Yao Wenwen said ambiguously. Aunt Zhang, you can go and ask. Jiang Qian is really good looking. Aunt Zhang knew that the Jiang family's daughter was also raised very well. All right, I'll go and take a look today. Thinking of Jiang Qian, Aunt Zhang thought of Tang Yu. Her eyes lit up. If the two of them stood together, they would be a good match. Yao Wenwen looked at Aunt Zhang, who left in a hurry with a satisfied expression. However, the other Auntie Li who was left behind couldn't help but say, "You silly girl. Auntie Zhang originally wanted to set you up with the eldest son of the Tang family. The Tang family is such a good family, but you lost it." The Summit. Chapter 47-43. Is that so? Yao Wenwen pretended to be puzzled. I overheard you talking about which girl is prettier, so I couldn't help but mention Jiang Qian. I didn't expect you to be talking about this. Aunt Li shook her head. What a silly girl. This is great. Family Tang is such a good thing. Aunt Li suddenly changed the topic. But there is still a second son in Family Tang. We can ask him if he has any thoughts. When the time comes. Aunt Li, I think it's better not. I don't have any thoughts about Family Tang. Yao Wenwen hurriedly said. She was afraid that Aunt Li would be nosy and tell Aunt Zhang about this. Aunt Zhang would definitely be tempted again. Aunt Li saw this and did not say anything more. Yao Wenwen, who had done a big thing, was already thinking about how to make things happen between her and He Qi first. She had to make He Qi like her. As long as He Qi liked her, everything was negotiable. Yao Wenwen looked at her slightly rough hands and frowned. When she married into the He family, and the He family became rich in the future, she must take good care of these hands. Aunt Zhang went to the Jiang family and told them about her intention. Mrs. Jiang did not have this idea in the beginning. Her daughter was still young and was not in a hurry to get married. Aunt Zhang could only leave. However, a few days later, Jiang Qian came to her. She asked her to help introduce someone to her. As long as the other party was willing to pay for the surgery to save her father, she would marry him, no matter who it was. Her father's injury could not be delayed any longer. If this went on, his leg would really be crippled. When Aunt Zhang heard this, she came to Family Tang that day. When Chen Yufan heard what Aunt Zhang said, she could not help but frown. When she heard this, she knew that it was a trap. She did not even think about rejecting it immediately. However, Aunt Zhang kept praising Jiang Qian. She said that it was rare to find such a girl who graduated from high school. Aunt Zhang asked her to meet her. Chen Yufan still wanted to refuse. Tang Gua happened to come back at that time. When she heard that Aunt Zhang was introducing Jiang Qian, she quickly ran over to say something nice. Mom, I know Jiang Qian. We were in different classes in the same grade. I got first place and she got second place. She's really pretty. Why don't we meet first? If you think she's good, then let my brother meet her. If it weren't for the Jiang family, I don't think my big brother would have gotten such a pretty girl. Chen Yufan trusted Tang Gua's words the most. After hearing her words, she suddenly felt less repulsed. Okay, since Gua said so, there must be no problem. Let's go and meet him. At first, she thought that the other party was treating her family as a fool. Now after Tang Gua's words, he changed his mind. What if the other party really had no way out? When Auntie Zhang saw that Tang Gua was so satisfied with Jiang Qian, she felt relieved. Jiang Qian was quite lucky to be praised by her sister-in-law. She would definitely not be at a disadvantage after marrying him. After Chen Yufan saw Jiang Qian, the dissatisfaction in her heart completely disappeared. Within 2 days, Aunt Zhang arranged for Tang Yu and Jiang Qian to meet. The two of them hit it off at first sight, and were very satisfied with each other. When Jiang Qian saw Tang Yu's silly smile, she was relieved and grateful to the Tang family. Just like that, the matter between the two of them was settled. On the same day, they went to the hospital to visit Father Jiang, and sent him to the county hospital for surgery. The surgery was very successful. His leg might still be lame in the future, but after recovery, he would have no problem walking. Tang Yu and Jiang Qian's wedding date was set to be 3 months later, mainly because Father Jiang's leg was almost recovered by then. When Yao Wenwen heard about this, she was very satisfied. Recently, everything had been going well for her. She had successfully attracted He Qi's attention, and had progressed to the point where they could hold hands. He Qi wanted to go further. She knew that men would easily not cherish what they had, so she had not agreed. After all, she was a person who had lived for a lifetime. She had all kinds of means to coax He Qi. He Qi was not angry. Instead, he indulged in it. When his family wanted to propose marriage for him, He Qi named Yao Wenwen. Then I'm very happy. Tang Gua knew about Yao Wenwen's movements. When she heard the system report about the two of them, she was very satisfied. The female lead actually came to my house. Tang Gua was most satisfied with this matter. Jiang Qian was really good. Her brother was really lucky. System. Judging from the host's tone, it seems that you feel that the female lead is at your house, so you have more reason to be lazy. Peak. Chapter 47-44. There were still 3 days before Tang Yu's wedding. Chen Yufan took some time to bring Tang Gua to town to buy some things for the wedding. They had prepared everything that needed to be prepared. At this time, they didn't dare to make it too big. They could only say that the Tang family also had all the things for the wedding. They were all in the house. Today they went to buy snacks, wedding candy, wine, and a gift for Jiang Qian. As for the vegetables, they had to buy them the day before to make them fresh. Guogua, is there anything you want to eat? Mom will take you to eat. When they arrived in town, Chen Yufan first asked Tang Gua, do you want to eat at a restaurant? Tang Gua refused. There was nothing good to eat at this time. Let's buy something early and go back. Then let's buy some buns and eat them on the way back. Chen Yufan said, also bring some back for your brothers. We can steam them at night. Of course, Tang Gua didn't have any objections. The two went to the restaurant to buy buns. Tang Gua didn't expect to meet Yao Wenwen, and He Qi. The two were eating. When she looked at Yao Wenwen, Yao Wenwen also saw her. Yao Wenwen's expression was full of self-satisfaction. She gently glanced at Tang Gua's ordinary clothes. If she couldn't control herself, she might have laughed out loud. What a country bumpkin. Tang Gua also saw that Yao Wenwen was wearing very fashionable clothes. System. The Yao family knew that Yao Wenwen was close to He Qi before. Yao Wenwen, who was reborn, had a sweet mouth. She coaxed Father Yao and Mother Yao to buy her clothes. They said that if He Qi likes her, she has to dress up well. If it were other families, they would definitely not be willing to let their daughter be involved with He Qi. But the Yao family was different. They didn't care about He Qi's personality, as long as the He family was rich. The He family was rich, and they only had one son, He Qi. That was what they cared about. In addition, they had vaguely heard that the He family was matchmaking for He Qi. It was said that He Qi wanted a beautiful woman. Now that he had opened his mouth, the Yao parents couldn't help but be tempted by the betrothal gifts. With this amount of betrothal money, their son Yao Jun would not have to worry about finding a wife in the future. Their son could choose any of the girls in the villages. A few days ago, the system told Tang Gua that the Yao and He families had already decided on this matter. At this time, Yao Wenwen and He Qi were officially dating. The Yao couple was afraid that they would lose their rich husband, so they didn't even let Yao Wenwen get on the ground, and just waited for the betrothal gift. Of course, it wasn't just the betrothal gifts. There was also the possibility that Yao Wenwen would help their son, Yao Jun. Yao Wenwen's words were also very nice. She knew that the Yao couple cared about Yao Jun the most, so she tried her best to say that when the days were better in the future, she would definitely not forget her younger brother. She would definitely give everything good to her younger brother. The two of them believed her, and found Yao Wenwen more and more pleasing to the eye. In just a few months, Yao Wenwen had become much fairer. Yao Wenwen was reborn, so she knew the temperament of men. Even if she held He-Chi's hand, she had never thought of taking the first step. However, she had other methods to make He-Chi unable to stop himself from her. He-Chi hadn't gotten anyone yet, so he was almost obedient to Yao Wenwen's words. His eyes were glued to her body. "Tangua, do you want to come over and eat?" Yao Wenwen waved at Tangua with a very noble look. She just wanted to compare herself with Tangua. Tangua's clothes were very local, and the clothes she wore were bought from Master Dao. Those were goods that were brought back from afar to buy. Peak. Chapter 47-45. Over the past few years, as long as they did not go overboard, they would turn a blind eye to it. Moreover, it would not be long before they completely relaxed. So Yao Wenwen was very bold to use these things. As long as she was in town, she would even put on lipstick. As for the clothes she brought back, she even changed them herself, so that they would be more fitting. As long as He-Chi met her, his eyes would definitely be on her. So what if he was the richest man in the province in the future? He was still obedient to her. He-Chi was not rich yet. She had to take the initiative and train him well, so that she could live a comfortable life in the future. "No, my mom will go back after buying the buns." Tangua refused. Yao Wenwen suddenly felt that He-Chi was looking at Tangua. Her face darkened in an instant. If that's the case, then forget it. Chen Yufan also noticed Yao Wenwen and greeted her casually. Yao Wenwen's attitude was perfunctory. She did not want to chat with Chen Yufan, so that He-Chi would not be able to take his eyes off Tangua. When Tangua and Chen Yufan left the restaurant, He-Chi could not help but stare at her back. "He-Chi, what are you looking at? Don't tell me you like her?" Yao Wenwen pretended to ask coquettishly, but in fact, her heart was about to explode. She was dressed so beautifully, and even put on makeup, while Tangua was wearing plain clothes and had no makeup. Her hair was casually tied into a ponytail. What was there to look at? No, how is that possible? He-Chi quickly coaxed Yao Wenwen. In fact, he was a little tempted. It was not that he had never been with women, although the girl just now was not as well dressed as Yao Wenwen. Her skin was fair and her face was beautiful. He had to admit that she was prettier than Yao Wenwen. Yao Wenwen felt uncomfortable in her heart. He-Chi's expression clearly showed that he was tempted. Fortunately, she acted quickly, and the two of them had already settled down. Otherwise, another Tangua would appear after she got rid of Jiang Qian. In the future, she should not talk to Tangua as much as possible. He-Chi could not be blamed for looking like a vixen. After all, there weren't many pretty girls in the nearby villages. She's the little princess of the Tang family. She doesn't do anything at home, and relies on Aunt Yufan and her two brothers to take care of her. Yao Wenwen was still worried and said in a low voice, "I also heard that their family is looking for a son-in-law to take care of her. It was not that easy to be with her. This live-in son-in-law is being squeezed dry by his family. Actually, someone from the village wanted to go to her house to propose marriage. Guess what happened?" In fact, He-Chi was already retreating in his heart. Although he liked beautiful women, he did not have any interest in a woman who did nothing. What happened? Yao Wenwen heard that He-Chi's tone had obviously calmed down, and she was relieved. They were all scared off by Aunt Yufan and her two brothers' conditions. Now the young men in the village all shrink back at the sight of her. Who dares to be with such a fairy? Then will she be able to get married? He-Chi was curious. In his opinion, his wife not only had to be pretty, but also had to be hard-working and capable. She had to serve him well. Tangua was good-looking, but she was particularly delicate like a little princess. He really could not have any interest in her. Anyway, she has the family to take care of her. They are happy. Yao Wenwen snorted at this. Tangua did not have a good life in her previous life, and it was impossible for her to have a good life in this life. As long as she was around, no one in the family could have a good life. The peak. Chapter 47-46. She hadn't forgotten the humiliation in her previous life. After they got married, she would urge He-chi to find a way to get rich as soon as possible. After that, she would be able to come back with her head held high. This time, she was the wife of the richest man in the province, not the lover of a big boss. That kind of thing wouldn't happen again. She also wanted to take revenge on the big boss's wife. Tang Gua and Chen Yufan went straight to the supply and demand cooperative. On the way, Chen Yufan suddenly said, "Auntie Zhang mentioned Yao Wenwen to me before." "Mom, what do you mean?" Tang Gua felt that Chen Yufan seemed to have noticed something. "Fortunately, I said I'd wait and see, and Qian came." Chen Yufan was more and more satisfied with this decision. Yao Wenwen is not simple. She's good at seducing men. The village was not so big. It was impossible for her not to know what Yao Wenwen was doing. Of course, she also knew something else. Although it was not the last step, in her opinion, it was very degrading. But in front of Tang Gua, she couldn't say much. "Gua, you can't learn from Yao Wenwen." Tang Gua blinked. "Mom, what should I learn from Yao Wenwen?" Chen Yufan was speechless. She couldn't tell her daughter that kind of thing again. Tang Gua knew this because the system had been paying attention to Yao Wenwen's movements. Yao Wenwen indeed didn't go the last step with He-chi, but He-chi was a very realistic man. Moreover, he was a man who had touched women before. If he couldn't get what he wanted, he would definitely be impatient. Yao Wenwen used other means, such as her hands and mouth, to help He-chi solve some difficulties. As the lover of a big boss, she knew a lot of tricks. How could a young man like He-chi not be addicted? This thing was probably not done secretly, and was accidentally seen by others. As long as it was seen by one person, almost everyone in the village would know, but they wouldn't mention it in front of the main character. Chen Yufan's expression was complicated. She wanted to say it, but it was not easy. "Forget it. Let's go in and look at the cloth. Yao Wenwen's clothes are pretty. Let's buy some cloth back. Mom will make it for you and Qian." Chen Yufan was very clever. She had already memorized the style of the clothes that Yao Wenwen was wearing just now. However, she definitely couldn't do the same thing. She had to make some changes. Some parts were too tight and had to be loosened. Tang Gua didn't refuse. She was very happy to be able to wear something beautiful. Thinking of Chen Yufeng's dexterity, the clothes she made were indeed not bad. In Yao Wenwen's eyes, what she was wearing was old-fashioned. But in fact, it was already quite fashionable in the village. If she waited for the limelight to pass, she would encourage Chen Yufan to learn to design, make clothes, and become the boss of a clothing store. Would she be able to mix in with the rich second generation in the future? Chen Yufan was not illiterate, and had studied for a few years. When the time came, she would give him some pills that could clear his mind. Learning would definitely not be a problem. System, how frightening. This cow has already been raised by its own mother. Great host, you really don't have a conscience. In order to become a rich second generation, he would do anything. 3 days later, Tang Yu and Jiang Qian got married. The clothes that Jiang Qian wore were made by Chen Yufan. When it was sent over, it was a special style. Jiang Qian liked it immediately. She had a good impression of the family. Chen Yufan's actions touched her even more. When the Jiang family saw the family's attitude, they were very relieved. They wiped their tears as they watched Jiang Qian being taken away. After a small ceremony, the people in the village came to join in the fun. Yao Wenwen also came. Yao Wenwen was dressed very beautifully today. She even put on lipstick. Of course, she planned to steal the limelight. The summit. Chapter 47-47. Sister, it's not good for you to dress like this. Yao Xianxian had been telling Yao Wenwen not to dress so ostentatiously since they left the house. It was Jiang Qian's wedding. It was inappropriate for her to dress more ostentatiously than the bride. Along the way, she had said it several times, but Yao Wenwen didn't listen. Instead, she was a little impatient. She didn't understand why she had such a stupid sister. Couldn't she tell who was her sister? No wonder she was married off to a lame man in her previous life. She felt so happy and stayed in this small village for the rest of her life. Useless. Sister, everyone is looking at you. It's not good. Yao Xianxian was worried. Her sister dressed like this. Wasn't she here to ruin the wedding? The bride was still on her way. Shangha village and Shiha village were close. If she walked fast, it would only take about 10 minutes. Yao Xianxian saw that her sister didn't listen at all. She was worried. She didn't know if Tang Guo would be angry if she saw it. Would the bride feel uncomfortable if she saw it? But she had tried her best. Ever since her sister fell on her head, she did strange things. She couldn't stop her. 10 minutes later, there was a commotion outside, followed by the sound of firecrackers. Yao Wenwen didn't move. Yao Xianxian liked this kind of noise, and quickly ran over to see the bride. From Yao Wenwen's point of view, Yao Xuanchuan's behavior was no different from a country bumpkin. She looked at Yao Xuanchuan's clothes. It was old and dull, and the color wasn't bright. There were even patches. What a disgrace! Yao Wenwen stood still. She was dressed so well. Even if she didn't go into the crowd, people would still notice her. When she just arrived, many people's eyes were on her. The women in the village had jealous looks in their eyes, while the men kept looking at her. She said that she was ostentatious, but those women were envious. She was still young. She looked good if she dressed up casually. Thinking of this, Yao Wenwen felt that she must take good care of her face. Otherwise, when He Qi became the richest man in the province, who knew how many mistresses would come to him? Yao Wenwen was immersed in her own thoughts. When she came back to her senses, she heard the people around her shouting. She had a bad premonition. The bride is so beautiful. Tang Yu, this kid is lucky. I heard that Tang Yu was looking for a wife. He only wanted to find a beautiful one, and he really found one. The boss of family Tang is not bad either. The two of them are really a good match. The bride's clothes are so beautiful. I wonder where she bought them. Tang Guo heard the young girls in the village talking about it. She walked over and said, "My mother made it for my sister-in-law. She went to her house to measure the size and made it herself." Tang Guo's words shocked everyone in the village. What? The bride's wedding dress was personally made by her mother-in-law. Jiang Qian was so lucky to have met such a mother-in-law. Her life was too good. Now, no matter if it was a young girl or a married woman, they all looked at Jiang Qian with envy. If it was any other day, they would definitely say a few words of jealousy. However, on such a joyous day, they couldn't say anything as they held the wedding candies in their hands. They could only watch with envious eyes. Jiang Qian's bridal attire was somewhat similar to the Xiohe attire of the later generations. Because of the era, craftsmanship and time, it was much simpler than the Xiohe attire. But at this time, it was also very rare. Peak. Chapter 47-48. The buttons on the dress were made by Chen Yufan herself with thread. It was very delicate and beautiful. She even had a simple flower embroidered on the collar. The sleeves on both sides were also embroidered with some flowers as decoration. There were also some simple embroidery patterns on other parts of the dress, making the bridal dress not look monotonous. The leather shoes on her feet were bought by Tang Yu for her. When Tang Yu bought it, Chen Yufan didn't have any opinion. He loved his wife. As long as his daughter-in-law was a good woman and was willing to live a good life, their wedding day should be glorious. This is so beautiful. When I get married in the future, I want to wear beautiful clothes like this. When Tang Guo heard the words of the girls beside her, she turned around and looked at them with a smile. It's not impossible if you want to wear this. You can buy cloth and ask my mother to make it for you. You can get some money when the time comes. When the girls heard this, they were deep in thought. Their eyes instantly lit up. It seemed that this was also possible. Tang Guo looked at her sister-in-law Jiang Qian's bridal outfit with satisfaction. The shoes were bought by her brother. The clothes were made by her mother. The hair was thinned by her. And the makeup was done by her. At this time, Jiang Qian completely led the trend of girls getting married in the whole village. Every part of her body was very detailed, making people envious. Especially the girls who were watching, they were envious. Good husband, good mother-in-law. If they were more beautiful, they might be able to marry into the Tang family. At that time, they would be able to enjoy this kind of treatment. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. I think the bride's hairstyle looks good too. Tang Guo said at this time. I helped sister-in-law do this. I saw people in the city do their hair like this before, so I thought about it myself. It looks good. Tang Gua had already noticed Yao Wenwen, who was stunned at the sight, so she deliberately said it loudly. Yao Wenwen probably thought that Jiang Qian would be at a disadvantage if she married into the Tang family. Would she be bullied by her sister-in-law? She used reality to tell her that she wouldn't. Not only would she not be bullied, but she would also be blessed for the rest of her life. Yao Wenwen still didn't understand that people were different. Sooner or later she would understand. Tang Gua, your hands are so skillful. Yao Xianxian came to Tang Gua's side and said enviously, the bride is so beautiful. You don't have to be envious. If you get married, I'll comb your hair for you too. Tang Gua said with a smile. So what if she was a little different? She could also open up a social circle in the village. At that time, these simple girls would only be loyal to her. I want one too. When I get married, can I look for you? Another girl from the same village said, completely unabashed. Tang Gua nodded. Sure. When you get married in the future, you can come to me. As long as I'm free, I'll help you comb your hair. That's great. A young girl came over and hugged Tang Gua's arm. Don't worry, you'll get a bonus. If they didn't give her a red packet, wouldn't it seem like they were too stingy and only knew how to take advantage of others? Tang Gua believed that after today, there would be a lot of people looking for her to comb their hair. Not only that, but more and more people would ask her mother to make clothes for them. Her mother had been tired out in the past few years. She couldn't go out to the fields anymore. She might as well start making clothes for others. When the limelight was over, the family would slowly become rich, and they could add some equipment. At that time, she would go to the city to buy some fashion design books for her mother. Anyway, she had made up her mind to make Chen Yufan rich, so that she could be at ease and be a rich second generation. The peak. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.